What is up, everybody? My name is Hector Flores, host of the Insert Name FC podcast, a member of the Belly of Sports Media Network. You can find us on all things podcasting, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast fix from. You'll find us there at Insert Name FC. And of course, check us out on social media at everything Insert Name FC, Instagram, X, Facebook. And also, obviously, you can find us also. The full video version is available on Belly Up's YouTube channel. So just go to youtube.com and search Belly Up Sports. And you'll find us there amongst some of the other great content made here by Belly Up Sports. This episode is the recap for the 2026 World Cup. Pretty straightforward. If you guys are wondering how come we weren't covering the World Cup throughout the tournament, well, mainly because we're on break. We are more focused towards the European calendar, the seasons. Obviously the big five European leagues, that's usually what we're more focused towards. We've tried to cover the World Cup, and it's just obviously it's very time consuming. It could take a lot for Edward, and that's kind of the big reason why we don't do like weekly episodes on the World Cup. But also on top of that, Belly of Sports has been doing their summer of soccer. I was very much a big part of that program, so it was kind of, do I just say the same things that I've been saying over at Belly of Sports over here? So just to give Belly of Sports some more attention on top of that. But we still do previews and a recap of the World Cup. So it is a bit of lengthy episode. Edward is not available for this episode because obviously he's on dad duty, but Kelcey Coyne of High Low Sports is here. So we will have Kelcey to talk about the good, the bad, the ugly of the World Cup. Also recap the final, share our thoughts on some of the things that happened in the final, things that we liked, things that we didn't like, stories to follow through this World Cup. So it is pretty lengthy. Obviously, we're talking about the entire World Cup as a whole. So yeah, it's going to be a discussion for sure, but a really great one nonetheless. So with all that being said, also, if you noticed, a new look for the Insert Name FC layout. And the reason being is because, so the new thing that we were doing is whenever a Champions League winner will normally have everything based on the colors of the Champions League winner. And being that this was the World Cup, it's only fair that we just highlight the winner of the World Cup. If you guys haven't figured it out, it's Spain, which, fun fact, me and Edward did pick as our top nation for the World Cup. So, that's all I had to say about that one. But yeah, so for throughout this season at Insert Name FC, you're going to be seeing the colors based on the Spanish national team. So for our episode art, for our background, it's going to be the colors of Spain. So just get ready for that. So it's going to be really cool. Obviously, we were going to do a whole thing for PSG, but then I just realized we just crowned the champion of the world. So we should probably acknowledge that for sure. So there's that. So with all that being said, man, take a break and then go right into the recap of the 2026 FIFA World Cup with Kelcey Coyne of High Low Sports.
Looking for sports coverage with attitude? Welcome to Belly Up Sports, where the takes are bold, the jokes are reckless, and no topic is off limits. From articles that'll make you rethink your fandom to podcasts that sound like your group chat during a playoff game, Belly Up Sports delivers the sports content you actually want. So ditch the bland and head to bellyupsports.com and follow Belly Up Sports on all socials. Belly Up Sports, we're not just a network, we're the voice of the fans.
All right, guys, we are not back fully because, we're still on vacation. But obviously, World Cup happened, here at Insert Name FC, we do preview the tournament and then recap it afterwards, which was kind of like a combination of a preview / our end of the season episode. But, now we're here. We're going to recap the World Cup. Edward is obviously on dad duty, so he's not going to be available. So we call in the super sub. We got Kelcey Coyne here. If you guys haven't been following, shame on you, by the way. On Belly Up, we've been doing the Summer of Soccer Super Show, which is also the other reason why I didn't feel the need that I needed to do weekly episodes on the World Cup when we were already doing that at Belly Up Sports. So unless you want me to hear me say the same dumb jokes over again, which I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Some of the jokes were good.
Some of the jokes, just a little bit. Maybe I don't know. I think I was batting like at least 300. um,
Hey, Hall of Fame numbers, man. Hall of Fame numbers.
Hall of Fame numbers. But yeah, no, Kelcey. First of all, obviously, always a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, man.
And appreciate you taking a break from. Well, you're not even taking a break, but but
No, I'm glad to be here, man. It's look, no rest for the wicked, right? So take that for what it's worth. I'm always happy to jump on and talk soccer anytime. We just finished summer soccer, so it was like the next best thing is okay. Well, Hector invited me. Let's do it. Like it's that time again. So no, I'm always glad to be here, man.
Yeah, man. In 2026 World Cup, it is done. Congratulations to Spain. We'll get to Spain at some point, but we have to talk about the World Cup as a whole. And I mean, I'm gonna do this. It is the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is what we're gonna do, at least to talk about the initial parts of the World Cup. So think of more so group stage for right now. So what do you want to start here? You want to start with the ugly, the bad, or the good? What do you want to do? Want to start positive, or you want to go full send?
I always want to end my day on a positive note, so let's start with the bad first.
Okay.
And that way we can work our way to the good. That's I think that's the best way to do this.
All right. So, what is your bad of this World Cup?
Especially starting with the group stage. I mean, I think you have to look at something like Turkey crashing out the way they did, just absolutely bombing. It was, I think that's probably the bad, and not just to crash out, but to crash out the way they specifically did, where they were completely ignorant to the fact they were crashing out after game one, where they're sitting here talking about, no, we're still the most technical team on the field. Yeah, but you lost twice before you played the U.S. And yes, they did beat the U.S. Congratulations. You beat a team who wasn't trying. Good job. But it doesn't change the fact that you were supposed to be, you realistically had almost even odds to win the group. And it would have been acceptable if you won the group undefeated. Like it would not been a surprise if you did that. And they couldn't even get past one game with a win column, and that one game just happened to be against the U.S. after the U.S. had already clinched first place in the group. So it's like the way Turkey went out and the way they went out with the conversations around it were just so bad. Like that is the ugliest of the ugly for me from the group stage specifically. And like really that kind of mars a lot of the tournament for me. When I look at like what was the worst moment, I think it's just Turkey's just ignorance to the whole thing.
No, yeah, it was a country that was viewed as the dark horse, right? The team that, hey man, whenever they're in the World Cup, which is a very small sample size, by the way, but whenever they're in the World Cup, they go far and they are a nuisance. And I think obviously everyone saw the two main young players, right, for Turkey and Arda Güler and Kenan Yildiz, and they thought like these guys are powerful. We saw what they did in the Euro. They're just gonna get better, and I don't know. Maybe complacency kills. I think at the end of the day, but I think they underestimated who they were playing against. They underestimated Australia, and with what Turkey was playing, it kind of works towards teams that are gonna defend. I got this really fast guy that I can get the ball to on a counter, and I'm gonna make him pay. And that's what happened with Turkey, at least against Australia. Paraguay, I have no idea what happened there. Paraguay, that is not Paraguay's identity, but same thing, kind of defend, wait till they have their moment, and they had their moment, mind you, without Miguel Almiron, by the way.
Which is the most impressive part of that whole moment. It was without who is their undisputed number 10. Like, he is that dude for Paraguay in a lot of cases. Like, he's not maybe that dude as much as he was, but he is still recognized as that country's dude in a lot of ways. So, yeah, it was impressive. Like, impressive from Paraguay standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And then, with the USA game, look, they got their moral victory. They talk their trash about the U.S., say all the things that they wanted to say, racism, our government's stupid, things like that of that nature. Also, some very poorly taste jokes that they made involving, obviously, a current issue that we have in this country, and I'm not going to say more on it, but it obviously involves children. But I think, which was, I know that's not all of Turkey. I'm not saying that, obviously that's not all the Turkish fans that were saying, just like how everyone has their bad people in every fan base. You could talk
Yeah.
about that across the world. Any fan base, you're gonna have your black sheep, right? And unfortunately, you know, stay away from social media is what I would say if you guys want to not see any of that
Yeah.
because
Specifically X. Avoid X during those moments for sure.
yeah. So and then but yeah, no Turkey, and I think mind you, they played against a USA team that many view was not trying, and even then they had to score they had to go to the very end to get
Hmm.
that victory. So to say they obliterated the United States, which wasn't good, it was the only player I think that was from the typical 11 was Weston McKennie, I believe, on that roster. Maybe Tim Ring was there. I'm not entirely sure. And Christian Pulisic, of course, made his appearance at some point in the game. But yeah, no, I think Turkey very disappointing, especially how they were sent off to this
Hmm.
World Cup. They had the full what's it called in
The
real
regalia,
yeah,
the march, the coat of, or not coat of arms, the walk of honor.
the convoy. That's what they had. They had like a
Yeah,
massive
yeah,
convoy. There we go. That's what I was thinking. To have all that, and then this is how you get out of the group stage. You got grouped, so especially when all the other three teams went on to go to the knockout rounds.
hmm
So it was not only that, but just the fact that like Australia made it to the knockout round, Paraguay made it to the knockout round, and of course the U.S. made it to the knockout round. So you had in your group three teams that advanced, and you were not one of them. And I'm sure initially a lot of us thought Turkey would either win the group or at least definitely get out of the group. And yeah, massive, massive flop for Turkey.
yeah, yeah. No, that was by far the worst to me. Honestly, it was just you just don't wish it upon anybody. But then at the same time, to see the way they carried themselves, it was like this went from just sad to now this is just gross and disgusting. And I really hope to never see a team carry themselves with this kind of lack of awareness to the situation they're putting themselves in. And I think that's the part of this whole thing that bothered me the most is it's like, yes, you're losing, but to be completely ignorant to the fact that you were getting outplayed in the most basic facets of the game, like shots on goal, shots period, but specifically shots on goal for Turkey is the one thing that requires a goal. It's like this is a stat that directly correlates to goals. And when you can't put that on, put a shot on goal against Australia or a shot that gets past a defender, better yet, because I don't know how many blocks against Australia happened, but it was an insane amount. And then against Paraguay, I don't know what you were doing if you were Turkey. I was just, yeah. And then the ignorance to still say, no, we're the more skillful team. And like, maybe on your club teams, yes, you can say that, but like, the statistics have proven otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are you sucking at this World Cup, but it took you a long time to get to this World Cup. It's like, let's not get too crazy with this. And then it's like almost like they didn't figure out that, hey, maybe a little humbleness would be good here. And this is coming from somebody who is all for give me some egos in a lot of cases, but this is like, there's a time and place. It was not the place to carry your ego right there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think for me, one of the bads from this tournament, and I think it was the VAR. I think VAR was definitely not at the best showing in this World Cup. And yeah, I mean, obviously, you can even mention the knockout rounds as well, but like just like, I think it got worse more so because you had those quote unquote dumb Americans that started complaining about how to fix soccer. By the way, which
if it was that easy, it would have been done 100 years ago.
Yeah, I need less and less of Americans wanting to fix a game that is perfectly fine for what it is. But I am more so on the advocate of I don't really think I need VAR. I think I think at the end of the day there's got to be the human element in it. There's got to be say what you want, the no era penal, the any other instances where VAR could have been so much helpful. Even in there was maybe some positives from this World Cup, like for instance the Miguel Almiron red card, right? Not the red card. The did he get? No, he got a yellow card.
The
But
covering the mouth was a red
no,
card. Oh,
the flop job that he did.
oh yeah, yeah. The flop was yellow. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I think Tim Reen got a foul call that then they reviewed it and they saw that Almiron flopped, and so then they reversed it. Which I mean, those are like the positive points, I guess you can say. I mean, people are gonna love VAR when it's not impacting their team, or when it's impacted the team in a positive way, not so much in a good way. Like for instance, the USA goal against Freeman's first World Cup goal against Australia, right? We got the VAR check, and he got his goal, right? And sometimes I don't know, man. Sometimes it's just like it's hard to like celebrate when you just went through all that, like when you're just there waiting. And I mean, great, one awesome moment, right? Because we got to see Freeman and the boys, get to celebrate that goal. But it's just like it's a deflating moment as you're just waiting to figure out whether or not they're gonna call it a goal. But even then, VAR still has the human element. It's not bulletproof. At the end of the day, perception is going to be everything. What do you view as a handball? What do you view as intention? How do you view something? Like the Messi stepping on the back of the calf of that one player. Like where, like at some point maybe the sport needs to be more black and white, and maybe that ruins a lot of things because when you're saying handball's a handball, regardless of there's intent or regardless where he was positioned, whether it was awkward or not. All those things, like you're just, it's like if it was black and white, it's hard to like argue it. A handball's a handball, right? Your spikes are showing, or your spikes are showing. Things like that. Both feet slide, a 2-foot slide tackle. Those things are like it's black and white. Can't do anything about it. But I think with VAR, it's very rare that I've seen, in my opinion, like an overturned call. And I think also we need it's also the time the length of time that gets put into. I think also, when it comes to VAR, like if it's not clear and concise, the call should stand. If we're spending more than 10 minutes trying to figure out whether or not this is a handball, whether he's offside, if it's gotten to the point where you're having the referee relook the call, like that's the whole point of the video assistant referee is look back, say, hey, yeah, no, you might want to take another look at that. And, it should be a quick thing. It should take to me, in my opinion, this could be my dumb take, and some people might hate me for it, but it should take 5 minutes. It should just take 5 minutes to figure out whether or not it's a foul, or whether it's an offside, whether it's a penalty, whatever you want to you're checking. Like it should take 5 minutes. It should be the VAR looking like, oh shoot, hey, you might want to take a look at that. I don't think that was a red card, and then they go back, they look at it, and it should be. It shouldn't take as long as it does, man. But I think as we continue on with VAR, it's going to be constantly discussed. To me, I think I was fine when VAR wasn't a thing. I was perfectly fine with it. I didn't, was I frustrated when it didn't go my way, but it was the human element at the end of the day. It's like with baseball, man. Like the umpires, like at the end of the day, it's the human element of the game, right? And then also you get something to complain about. Like you can complain about referees, the umpires, and all that because you get to do that, and that's your way of coping with whatever, regardless of with your coping of the result. Versus the robot umps versus the now the VAR. If it's done right, now you're like, well, shoot, I don't have a foot standing right now. So like,
yeah. For me, VAR, there was different problems for me with the VAR. It does tie a little bit into how long it was taking, but also the fact that the rules tell you should never use slow motion. And yet, I don't have enough fingers to count how many times slow motion was used to determine a yellow card or red card, specifically like Flo Balogun being one of them. But there were also several in England matchups and Argentina matchups and Portugal matchups that were just... You're just sitting here looking at them like, why are we slowing this down? Because it's coming from the world feed, which is the problem, where like the world feed is the feed that is also being fed into the FIFA headquarters for the review, which I have so many issues with that fact, and then what the Fox actually broadcast is a whole different conversation. But the VAR specifically, they put in these stupid rules that really favor one side of the football and not the other. And it was frustrating. You saw it a lot on corners where it was a completely botched corner call. And it was like, oh, we're not going to give it as a corner. We're going to give it as a goal kick on the field. And so you can't go and review and see that it was obviously a corner. That happened. I mean, I think I counted at least 25 times over the course of just the knockout stages. And that's not to count any of the group stage games, because I honestly wasn't even paying attention until really the knockout stage for that specific thing, because I kept noticing it happening more. And there was just several things like that. And then, missed calls on, if you're going to use VAR, use it. Don't half-ass it. Don't give it a little courtesy push. Like, actually use it for its purpose. Hey, a quick review up by the VAR box, and they buzz onto the giant watch that they have on their wrist that is literally 6 inches freaking long, says foul was committed, wrong call. Oh, okay, hang on, let me touch my earpiece and figure out what you're talking about. Okay, in 30 seconds we're done. And it's like, I think the biggest moment we all know, and obviously I'm not talking about red card compensation, but the biggest other moment was the Mbappe penalty that took forever to be taken. He ends up missing it because it took forever. Like, he reset himself 4 or 5 times just to get ready before the PK was even taken, all because VAR couldn't figure out how to do their job. And it's like, we have all this technology in the world, and nobody's figured out that, hey, on the opposite sideline from the benches, there's a completely straight line where no players stand, and you can put a little camera on both sides of the pitch. One for one defensive line, the other for the other defensive line. It gives you a straight shot across the field. And guess what you have? You have an exact line that tells you whether somebody was offside or not. And you just put it on a track. Like you put everything else on tracks for cameras. You have it everywhere. Every other sport has this. You put a sky cam in a soccer game, but you can't put a small camera on a track, on a ad board. You can't do that. Why? Just do that and solve your problem. And then the lack of clarity that comes with VAR is another issue I have. And I've kind of been spoiled watching sports recently, where baseball and for the UFL, so the Spring Football League, they're completely transparent with their review process. It is completely shown on TV. Everything from the communication and what they're seeing on their screens is shown to you. The NFL still hasn't gotten behind this yet, which is, I think, a mistake on their part. But the game of soccer, with all of its scandals, you mean to tell me you can't just take this one little thing and just be like, hey, yeah, no, we can do that for you. And I think that's the part with all this that gets bothersome with VAR, is because it's not completely see-through. You're not transparent with what you're actually calling and why you're calling it. Yes, the rules seem very straightforward and obvious, but most people don't know that now offsides doesn't include your arms and legs. It only includes the center mass of your body and your head. Like the Ferran Torres goals, he was off not by his shoulder, he was off by the scalp, the part of his scalp in the goal that was overturned in the final game. Like, these things most fans won't pay attention to, or they don't understand that it's the last 2 men is what dictates the offside rule. It's the ball, or you cannot pass the last 2 men, which means not just a goalkeeper, but it could be 2 defenders. You have to still be on the ball side of the closest defender. Like, there's so many rules about the game that most casuals won't understand, and VAR not being transparent makes it even harder. And you have the ability to make these things easier, and you choose not to, and you choose to waste it elsewhere, is my problems with VAR. It's like, instead of making these stupid half-stipulated rules, just make it a blanket rule that if it's a clear and obvious mistake anywhere on the pitch, it can be addressed. And I think that solves the problem. Like, that solves, at least in my opinion, I think that would solve about 60% of the problems we saw in this World Cup. Because it would have been picked up and taken care of right then and there. We wouldn't have had a 10-minute stoppage. We wouldn't have had a 15-minute stoppage before Mbappe took his PK. We wouldn't have had the red card situation, because it's like, oh, no, that is an actual, like, yes, it's a foul. It's a yellow card. Is it a red card? No. We can address that because one, we're not slowing it down to make it look 10 times worse than it actually is. Two, we can see, oh, this is just a way the physical body is moving, and he was actually technically being manhandled by the defender to create that situation of contact. So technically, if we're being completely technical about it, it's an unavoidable contact, which dictates it would be a yellow card incidental, not a malicious red card, which is the definitional line for red card versus yellow card. Is there malicious intent or potential injury? That creates a red card. There was no malicious intent. There was accidental contact. And yes, the cleats happened to hit the back of his leg. Okay. Don't run through the back of a striker then. Like, that's my answer to you. It's like, if you do dumb things, win stupid prizes. And this is like,
it was just the inconsistency of that call. Because I mean, like I said, in the first,
I didn't mean to put this on flow, but like at the same time, like it's just like it's a perfect encompassment of the rule.
No, yeah, I mean, I think it doesn't help that you allowed one person to get away with it, and VAR. I don't believe even VAR was even involved. I don't think anything was called in general with the Messi situation, and it's just like it hurts your product. And it hurts also Messi's case where we're like, oh, you're going to give Messi whatever he wants because it's Messi. But, I mean, if you're going to make that decision, that's the president now. That's the precedent. Like, if that wasn't a red card or a yellow card, even a foul, you can't call it then with Ballon. Like, there was a lot, and I think that's like kind of, once again, it's the human element. That's what every referee is going to view things differently. But I mean, that was, and I feel like there should, I don't know if there is, but there should be meetings with the referees, and like, all right, guys, well, we missed this pretty bad, so
yeah, like, hey, the World Cup wrap up, here we go, guys. All right, here's all your missed calls for like end of the game. Just like players watch film, run a referee through film of his own game. All right, ref, here's where you missed. There's actually several, like, I don't know if they're fan accounts for the most part, but they have them for several different leagues where they do a fan grade of the referees and the umpires, and they grade them on their success. They should just have it for the World Cup. And to be fair, you'll find a lot more referees that are better than they are bad. But I think the problem was there were so many just egregiously missed calls by only a handful of referees in multiple games, and I think that's the big problem. Is there were like 6 really bad ones, like 6 really bad refs. 3 guys that just had some really off games that they managed to referee, and then the rest of them were all pretty good. But it's just those really bad ones will always stand out to everybody.
Yeah, I think it's always gonna be the small handful that's gonna be acknowledged, not the overall positives that came from it. But it is still something that needs to be addressed, not just for World Cup. This is like, we're talking about the game. Like, the officiating needs to be better. I wish instead of it being federation based for referee qualifying, referee certifications, it needs to be under one massive umbrella. I get it that for coaching, you have the USSF, right? Mm-hmm. You have UEFA licensing, you have all that. I get it to do that in some way, but I think with refereeing, the game is still the game.
Yeah.
That like, coaching is one thing. There's different ways to coach, and I'm fine with whatever USSF thinks is good coaching versus what UEFA considers good coaching versus the French Football Federation's coaching. All those things. I'm fine with those. That when it comes to coaching, but refereeing, like, the rule book should be the same rule book across the globe. The only thing that was different would be the language.
That becomes a lot harder to regulate just because of where certain leagues started. Think about the PK rule in the MLS being a problem, like the scheduling for Norway, for smaller leagues like the MLS as well, Liga MX. When it comes to them compared to the rest of the world, they're not on the same. They weren't on the same path, but they're starting to get back to it.
I mean, as far as the rules of the game,
I think maybe not necessarily that specific, but maybe if you take it one step further and do what basketball does, which is, or even baseball, is they have an international rule book that you have to be certified in as a referee or umpire to be able to referee and umpire one of the international games. And I think that's maybe what you need to do for FIFA. Like, yes, these guys are all the best of their, selected confederations. Okay, now give them a test and make sure they're actually understand the rules of the game, and then they can go and manage it. I think that's kind of how I would take it. Before, I would just be like, no, everybody has to change the same rules, just because, again, if soccer was easily changed over 100 years, we would have done it already. Situation where it takes slow increments with soccer, and I think this is like a slow version of it. Would be like, all right, take the top 5% from each confederation, give them this test, let them get approved, which then will just generally improve the quality for everything. And that will, I mean, that does also include like Confederations Cups, that includes Gold Cups, that includes, every Copa Americas, all of that, and even involves any two international teams or even non-FIFA regulated international teams like Catalonia. It needs to be these referees. I think that would just make it so much better for everybody.
No, that I agree.
And no Ishmael Elfath refereeing any more Argentina matches. Needs to stop.
Even though, funny enough, he's like, I think maybe not this World Cup, but the last World Cup, he was like up-ranked, like one of the highly rated referees in the last World Cup.
Argentina's just never lost with Ishmael Elfath as a referee, not with Messi in the team.
That's interesting, but yeah, the ugly man.
Put your tin cap on for that one.
Yeah, the ugly for this one, and honestly, for me, this was the thing I found the most annoying, and I'm sure Kelcey also agrees to it. It was just the nonstop whining. Yeah. And I'm not talking about the games. I'm talking about the nonstop whining of just everybody, like the people whining, just going into this World Cup, people whining, saying, "Oh, this is going to be the world's worst World Cup because of this. This is going to be the world's worst cup because of that." We haven't even gotten to the World Cup. We haven't even had a match kickoff yet, and the people are already kind of just like, "No, I don't. The World Cup's going to be terrible because it's the U.S. The World Cup's going to be terrible." And it's all directed towards the U.S. There was no jabs given to Canada or Mexico, which I get why, because obviously, once again, USA is just such a hot topic, not only in the country but also outside. Everyone just obviously loves to observe what USA is doing because it's just the reality show that just gives you more and more, especially with who's currently in the White House. And I totally get that. Obviously the concerns with the ICE raids, concerns with immigration. I mean, to the point where we had a referee that couldn't even come to the country and do his job and he was actually regarded as one of the better referees.
He is one of the better international referees too, just because he's from Somalia. He happened to be born within the wrong borders. That's the reason he got turned away.
I mean, what was going on with Iran, I thought that was terrible as well. Them having to just, as soon as they were done with the game, had to just fly back immediately. It was very. There was moments where I get why the U.S. wasn't viewed positively, but there was the complaints that weren't justified. Mm-hmm. Just every minute, like, oh, this is gonna be the world's worst World Cup because of the U.S. Oh, the times are bad. The times are bad. This is gonna be the world's worst World Cup. I woke up at freaking 3 a.m. to watch Brazil beat Germany in Japan. I'm sorry, I don't want to hear it. Honestly, and it's not all the Europeans, because obviously the Europeans that did in fact come to the United States and actually explored and experienced the USA, going to other sporting events, right? They were going to watch, hockey games. When to go watch, I think was it hockey games? Mm-hmm. They came to the country. They went and explored the country, learned about the culture. Oh, that was the other thing that I couldn't stand hearing. Americans have no culture here. There's no culture in the United States. It was just completely oblivious, and it was just annoying every minute. Not only from people outside the country, but even people in the country that were just trying to justify how this World Cup is going to be the worst World Cup ever because this, that, and the third, and it's all the U.S.'s fault. It's not the U.S.'s fault that they expanded the World Cup to 48 teams. It's not the U.S.'s fault that, for some reason Infantino was like, I want to do a halftime show. It's not the U.S.'s fault for the stupid jacked up prices for tickets. It's not. If you don't believe me, go look at the ticket prices for Qatar. This was the inevitable. Yeah. The time zone. I want to know if there was any complaints when Brazil hosted this World Cup. I would love to see the complaints because
specifically, my complaints for the time zones, and I just have to pause you there because my complaints for the time zone is you're within the United States playing a game that within the United States time zones would be played well past midnight, which is a problem. Brazil, there wasn't one because they only span 2 time zones, but they're also the equivalent for Americans, Eastern and Central time zones. But the rest of the world complaining, screw off. We've watched all of your World Cups at the weirdest times in the world.
My rebuttal with that one is, and I mean, as someone that obviously you've seen the hat that I'm wearing. If you guys are listening to the audio version, I'm wearing an Astros hat. I've had to watch the Astros play Seattle at 9 o'clock at night, where the first pitch is at 9 o'clock. So I mean, unfortunately, yeah, we have like 3 time zones here in the United States. And
4. Well, technically 6. Technically,
there's a lot of time zones. There's just
well, I mean, we're not counting Alaska and Hawaii for the purpose of World Cup soccer, so it's 4. But
so time zones is a MFer. You know, it's just what it is with this country. This country is massive for many reasons. Obviously, you know, manifest destiny, whatever you want to say. But you know, in this country alone, in just this country alone, the time zones aren't ideal. So for us, maybe, you know, for Kelcey, he was, you know, up at 1 a.m. watching Mexico.
No, the game didn't end until 2:30, and that's my problem. That's my problem is it didn't start until well past an acceptable start. Like acceptable start time, if you start before 10 o'clock Eastern time, that's fine. But when you're starting at 11:30 Eastern time, that's kickoff. That's the problem I have. When I'm watching one of the hosts of the World Cup, who's, by the way, time zones wise, only an hour behind for most of their country. So they're watching it also up until 1 a.m. in the morning. That's a problem. Like, a host country should not be playing their tournament game, especially a group stage game, outside of prime time. And that's just in general. Like,
I agree.
4 and 7 and 10 is a perfect spread. That's 3 hours between every game. Call it swell. We don't need to go to 11:30 though to start a game. Or there was one game that started at 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and that was crazy.
No, I agree with that. I think FIFA, and I don't know why around this World Cup, this World Cup specifically, because like I said, Japan, Korea, people were waking up, well, at least here in the Western Hemisphere, we were waking up early to watch those games. Similar to South Africa, I don't think the time was that crazy for South Africa, but still.
Same as Germany. I mean, South Africa was the same as Germany, really.
Yeah, so I mean, the time zone, like, I just don't want to hear the complaints about time zones when we on this side, and it's not just U.S. So for people that think that I'm just complaining for the U.S., everybody that's in the Western Hemisphere, so North America, Central America, and South America, we all had to deal with that time zone. We had to deal with the matches played in those time zones, and I never once heard anybody complain like, "Oh man, it's so early. Oh man, this isn't ideal." The FIFA should be accommodating to the host nation, nations for this example, and they're all in the Western Hemisphere. So,
they're all within 3 hours of each other.
So So I'm like, if you're not happy about that, well, first of all, you guys get mandatory vacation. So I don't want to hear it. So as far as like that minor inconvenience, I still had to work. I was watching the games while I was at work. You know, so like I don't want to really hear it from people.
I will neither confirm nor deny my participation in watching games during working hours.
My big thing is just that like they just wanted to complain, and this was a complaint that happened last year as well with the FIFA Club World Cup. Like, oh, these times are accommodating for me. Shut up! You're not the host. You're not the host nation. What do you want? You want our games to be played at 2 a.m, so that way you can watch it on your convenience.
Like, well, that's what they did, though. Is they did move it because of what happened during last year's Club World Cup.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I mean, you know, that was the main reason why they put these matches in such, like, you know, and then it was funny to me because when we talk about the final was played at least Central Time, 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
It was 2 o'clock for the final, and already everyone was like, "It's ridiculous that we're playing a final and it's not nighttime." You wanted it to be at that time.
Yeah. The worst to me, okay, this is when it gets the worst, is when the knockout stages got further along to more important games, and the times got earlier and earlier in the host countries. Like when I'm watching a quarterfinals and semifinals game at 3:00 on a Tuesday of a work week, no. This is supposed to be for the entire host country to be able to embrace the sport. We weren't able to embrace the sport because you're playing it at times where 90% of the country is literally in an office building or at home working from their computers. Like, that's my problem with the, like, from a person living in the host country, is there is a window that has been built and displayed by several sports across several different decades that it works in America. And it is anytime from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. for a start time. Anytime within that period. And you can run 3 games in that start time. Just ask NFL. They do it. And if the NFL can run 3 games in a 6-hour time frame, a 90-minute match with 2 mandatory hydration breaks that are 3 minutes long and a 15-minute halftime should be well and good in that time frame. But for some reason, it's like, oh, no, we don't know how to figure this out, guys. We can't do it. It's like, what are you talking about? You can't do it. It's literally been established by sports that play games that are twice as long as an average soccer match. And I think that's the problem I have with everything. It's like, just follow the rule. Like, follow the playbook that's been laid out for what works. It wouldn't surprise me if they said, oh, this World Cup was wasn't the highest watched World Cup of all times. And I can imagine why, because most Americans weren't watching, which is the one thing. Like, in the past, honestly, when it was in every other country, it was being played at what is a good time for an American person to watch because we're not in the office, except for Korea. That was way too early for half of the games, and the other half were like when I was getting ready to go to school. So it was like, okay, this is kind of perfect timing because I could eat my cereal and watch Brazil. That was great. But yeah, I mean, no, from this tournament, like, it wasn't planned out well. Like, from Iran to this, it was just, overall, it feels like the planning was just like, oh, we threw it together, guys. It's in America. Congratulations. This is what we're doing. And nobody thought second.
On top of that, though, it was just, to me, it was just the complaining, you know. So, like, in Houston, one of the bigger complaints was that there was a lot of construction. First of all, there's always construction going on in Houston, Texas. I don't know why all of a sudden this has become a sound of concern for everybody. There's always been construction. And everybody's like, yeah, I'm here in downtown. There's all this construction. We're not ready for the World Cup. The World Cup matches aren't even in downtown. It's not downtown Houston. I know, because Reliance Stadium now, because they moved away from NRG. Now they're Reliance Stadium once again. But Houston Stadium, the most annoying thing was it's not in downtown. Yeah. Funny enough, it was closer to where I lived. in my region of Houston. It was more convenient for me to go to Texans games because all I had to do was take the bus and I was there.
Yeah.
It was super easy. It was a great time. Beautiful times.
And that's how most NFL stadiums are in America. I mean, like, there are very few NFL stadiums that are actually in the downtown proper, except for, like, Atlanta's downtown, but Miami's not. Miami's is on the, it's Coral Gables, so, because they played in what is Hard Rock technically. Yeah. But yeah, like, none of the other ones are really in downtown proper, except for, like, Atlanta. New York's not in downtown proper because it's in Hoboken, New Jersey. You think I'm kidding? It's actually East Rutherford, but still feels like Hoboken. But yeah, every other one is like outskirts. So,
but yeah, it was just I was like, can we just shut up and just enjoy the games? Like that. Yeah. At the end of the day, like, you guys did it real quickly for Qatar. Y'all definitely did that for Russia. Y'all were able to stop complaining and just watch the games for what they were. And that's the thing that was, and I think, like, maybe there was people maybe people in Russia were complaining about it. Maybe people in Qatar were making these same complaints, maybe carefully. But like it just was ridiculous that we couldn't just love the World Cup for what it is. You know, we couldn't just enjoy the World Cup because everything had to be some sort of political statement. Everything had to be this, that, and the third. Maybe people were like, I said it on Goals TV. Mexico can host this World Cup by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
They have the stadiums, they have the infrastructure. They may need to improve a few things like certain stadiums, but they have the stadiums for sure.
They could run it like South Africa where they play multiple games in a single stadium like that. They could do that.
Canada technically hosts the Women's World Cup.
Canada couldn't host a Men's World Cup because they don't have enough FIFA 5 stadiums.
No, I get that. So I mean, Canada might have to put some extra work in, but the reason why, what's funny was everyone's like, I don't even think U.S. has the stadiums for. The U.S. could have in fact hosted this World Cup by themselves.
We didn't even give the world our top 5 biggest stadiums, which are the world's top 10 biggest stadiums.
Chicago was a big miss in my opinion.
Yeah, we didn't do that. Okay, so we want to talk about different stadiums. We didn't do the Big House in Michigan, which is 107,000 people. You could have done Neyland Stadium.
I mean, I don't think college stadiums would have been.
Bro, it is literally the stereotypical soccer pitch, though. Like the problem is
it's grass.
It's 100% grass, but the problem is that I don't think they're wide enough at the end of the day, and I think that's the issue for a lot of them, which you see a lot in the European teams coming over and playing. But that's fixable, which we proved in this World Cup.
Anyways, the ongoing complaint, which is how U.S. was unfit to host this World Cup, USA was unfit to host this World Cup, Mexico should have hosted this World Cup. You know, that's all I heard.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that, okay, once this kicks off, I hear the end of it. And I didn't. And that was the most irritating part of it all. Like, I couldn't just enjoy the games. And I still did. Don't get me wrong. Don't think people this world that the outside noise was bothersome. I enjoyed the games when they came on. It's just staying away from social media. It's just the big thing because all of a sudden everyone has an opinion on the United States. Everyone has an opinion on soccer. Like that's the worst part is I couldn't get a break from anything because I had dumbass Americans. What makes this really cool? Or man, if our best athletes played soccer. I was like,
oh God, that one.
So what? Or that one girl that did a video like, so what do these guys do after the World Cup? Like, do they have jobs? Like, so if I wasn't dealing with people complaining about the country, how we're unfit to host this country, we should boycott the World Cup, the final should be moved to Azteca, this, that, and the third. And then if I wanted to move away from that, I move over and there's Americans trying to like, well, this is how you make soccer more entertaining. I just watched the game and it ended 0-0. It was super boring. I don't know why people like this stupid sport. I was never safe. I never had a safe space, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it was frustrating.
I'll say, as an American who grew up with a lot of American football playing friends down south, we talked about this on the Summer of Soccer show, right? Like the derogatory terms we heard about soccer growing up that just came rushing back at the start of this tournament from everybody who thinks they now know soccer. And it's like, dude, you've watched a total of 2 minutes of one match, and the only 2 minutes you watched were the highlights you saw on YouTube. And you're going to call that watching film, and you're going to tell me that you understand exactly how these guys are playing football now. Like, no, you don't understand the sport. Again, casuals don't even know offsides rules and what is offsides and what's not. And then having to hear complaints about every little thing, like on top of not just what makes soccer great again, but the athlete conversation is the dumbest thing in the world. When you have legitimate top tier athletes who went pro in other sports other than soccer that were good soccer players saying there's no chance America would be any better with the best athletes from every other sport. When you have Chad Ochocinco who trained with MLS and La Liga sides, when you have Odell Beckham Jr. who had trained with the U.S. men's national team youth programs, come out and flat out say there's no chance.
Hey guys, this is Hector from the Insert Name FC podcast here to tell you guys about Canada Dips. It is a great tasting, superior alternative to traditional dip using CBD in a way that is radical, enjoyable, and effective. It comes in 5 core flavors: wintergreen, mint, citrus, mango, and American spice. Canada CBD is the new evolution in dip, allowing guys to enjoy great, long-lasting taste without the downsides. If you guys want to go ahead and try them out, use the code BELLYUP20 at CanadipCBD.com. Once again, BELLYUP20 at CanadipCBD.com, and you'll get yourself 20% off your purchase. Thank you again for Canadips for being a great partner of Belly Up Sports.
That the best athletes from the NFL, NBA, and MLB could make it in the men's national team. And that's an important thing. When people who know the sport, kickers who are now kicking in the NFL because they washed out of soccer, are 100% saying no chance. And their firsthand experience on that. And you have dummies everywhere. They're just like, no, but I want LeBron as my striker. No, that's not going to happen. Nobody's putting a 6'6", 280-pound bowling ball out there. Actually, sorry, 6'8", 280-pound bowling ball out there to go do anything. It's not going to happen.
Also, fun fact: the Dallas Cowboys kicker was an MLS reject. So,
yeah, Josh Lambo is also an MLS reject. I mean, Cameron Dicker, also an MLS reject. I can go down the list of former NFL kickers who were MLS rejects, because it's not that they calling them a reject is kind of mean, but they washed out of the game of soccer and washed in to making $1 million+ as a kicker in the NFL, which is a pretty good washed up if you're being honest.
No, yeah, exactly.
But look, Carly Lloyd can go kick a soccer ball in the NFL. Doesn't mean she's going to transition to the men's game any better than she transitioned from the women's game. But you know what? She can go play football. Doesn't mean it works the other way around, though. She can still be a better men's athlete than any of the NFL players, though, at the end of the day.
But yeah, so that was my big thing, was the complaining in the World Cup. But Kelcey, what is your ugly?
I think, we've touched on a lot of them, but I think the ugliest of the ugly, I said this when we went into the Summer of Soccer show, keep politics out of the game, and guess what? They found themselves back into the game. It didn't take long either. And I'm not just talking about the Trump thing and the getting Flo Balogun in there. It was everything. There were conversations everywhere from the start of the tournament until the very end, when there were people talking about the Argentinian president staying at home because he has some kind of something against Trump, when in reality, he is a superstitious fan for Argentina and he wants to watch it. He's, as he said, in the same seat, in the same coat, drinking the same drink, eating the same food that he ate during the 2022 World Cup final. He wanted to do that again. And that's what he did. And that's fine. But it's just when you have politics involved in this every step of the way, from conveniently overturned red cards to questionable change of calendars that happened overnight because there was several matches that were moved from a later time slot to an earlier time slot, and the earlier time slot moved later for whatever convenient reason it was. There were too many things that could happen that then politics got brought in as the cause, and nobody looked at the other surrounding situations. There were storms that were coming in the area, and so they moved him because to avoid the storms, or that they were going to play in Miami at 2 p.m. Yeah, they were going to play in Miami at 2 p.m. in Eastern time in the heat, and instead they're like, let's put you guys at 8 p.m. Eastern time instead. How's that sound? Oh, that's much better, guys. We appreciate that. Nobody paid attention to the rest of the details. They just looked at it as, it's corrupt politicians getting involved in FIFA. And there were some that legitimately did get themselves involved. Infantino may or may not have listened to him. We will never know. But the fact that, one, people complained about it immediately and there was no question about it. There was no well, what actually happened conversation. It was just this is what happened. And then two, it was really convenient in some of the cases. It's hard to think that politics didn't find themselves back into FIFA, not even a decade after a little more than a decade after the biggest FIFA corruption scandal in the world and in history. And we're having another conversation about our politics too involved with soccer again. And it's God, can we just get one World Cup? It's crazy to me that the Qatar decision was questioned. The USA decision was questioned. The try bid for the USA conversation was questioned. The tournament itself has been questioned the whole time. Is who's actually running this tournament? Is it sponsors that are running it, given the hydration break situations? It's all politics and
also the U.S.'s fault that there was hydration.
Yeah.
Breaks. Even though it's been going on.
I don't know if you saw this, but every game, they said they did it. There's a statistic called the moist bulb levels. And it's like 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So any game played above that was considered an unhealthy environment to go and play your sport in. Every game of the World Cup was above 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's the only World Cup that ever got played above that. And people are like, oh, see, this is why we should never have the tournament there. I'm like, have you been to America any time past March? I don't know very many places that are not north of northern United States cities or on a water area or a bay that will be above or below 82 degrees come May. Like, and kids here do it all the time. we're talking about professional athletes having issues. Like, come on.
But
everything's the USA's fault. Everything's the politicians' fault. It's like, let's calm down.
I will say with the hydration breaks, and I honestly, I didn't care too much about the hydration part of it, even though that probably is still very important. But and the reason why is because this is their way for advertising. It's one, it wasn't initially it was because here in the U.S. It is tend to be hotter. But not just here in the U.S., but everywhere that's in countries that are hot. Like they're everyone keeps telling me about the UK heat waves. I'm sure. Which, by the way, I've seen hydration breaks.
Oh yeah. The English Premier League has hydration breaks in November.
I don't want to hear it. So I really don't want to hear it. This is advertised. No, this was hydration breaks has been going on.
Yeah.
Since COVID. Somebody
just sold the rights to play their advertisement over the hydration break now. Is the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. But I mentioned it, the hydration break, while everyone was complaining about it. These coaches are seeing this as a golden opportunity to make adjustments, and I don't think I'd never seen a single one where the coach wasn't there around the players talking. No. So. And obviously, and in this World Cup, they did extend the time to 3 minutes, I believe. Probably a little bit more. I'm not entirely sure.
No, it was 3 minutes. It was a 3 minutes firm clock.
Advertising. It's because of advertising. That
conveniently timed commercial break is 3 minutes, by the way.
But that coach was like, "Bet, give me my tactical board. This is what they're doing, guys. If we were to do this instead, we would beat them." Like that's literally. Like, you can't tell me a coach doesn't look at that and goes, you're giving me time to make adjustments.
Yeah.
Instead of having to shout across to the guy that's on the fullback position, the wingers, that they probably can't hear me. Now I have a chance to get everybody on the same page. You don't think they want to take that? You guys are smoking something that I would wish to partake in, but there's no way you can sit here and tell me that none of the players cared about that didn't like that hydration break.
Can I give you one of my goods while we're talking about this? Because this is my good.
Okay, we can go right into the goods if that's the case.
Yeah, because my good was 100% the coaching moments that came from the hydration breaks, the strategies built around the hydration break timing. Because you were given a minute range in which the hydration break could happen during a dead ball. So it's like the 24 through 30 minute mark or something like that in the first half, and the second half was like 63 through 70. And the first dead ball opportunity they had, they would do it. As a coach, you were like, okay, cool, we can strategize. And so what it allowed, and you saw this especially with the minnows of the World Cup, it allowed them to strategize around that hydration break. It's like, okay, we have two choices. Really, when we coming in to start the game, we can play cool, work ourselves into the games, or we can try to punch them in the face immediately, get our energy back during that hydration break, and then shell up after we maybe got a goal, which you did see in a couple cases. But you also saw the Norway version of it, which was sit back for the first 25 minutes of the match, and then for the next 25 minutes, we're going to go all out attack, and we're going to get two opportunities to score against England. Scored one. Didn't score on the other, but you still scored. You still had an opportunity, and you should have scored the second one. And I think those coaching moments were, and Argentina actually kind of typified this even earlier than everybody else, is they had a strategy coming out of every single hydration break. There was a set piece off of every single hydration break that they planned, and it early in the group stage, it was like almost a goal every hydration break that they would score. And it's such an amazing strategy. It's like, we talked about this on the Summer of Soccer, and it's worth mentioning again that coaches in an average soccer game without a hydration break, don't get the opportunity to legitimately get hands-on and change things throughout each half. They can yell tactical changes, but that doesn't really do the same thing. You don't have that moment to take it in, address it, give a firm game plan, and let them go out and just attack this new game plan. They have to slowly transition into that new game plan with a rolling, without the hydration breaks. And it is very unique to me to be able to see a coach's brain and see who's actually a really good manager and who's just a figurehead. And there were some managers that showed their ass here in the hydration break situation, that they couldn't do anything tactically. Mm-hmm. And their team struggled because of that. You know, and if it wasn't for them having really good players, they wouldn't have gotten as far as they could. And I'm looking at Portugal as that example. As like, I almost felt like Portugal never used their hydration break successfully. Mm-hmm. They looked weaker coming out of hydration break. The USA was 50-50. Some hydration breaks they'd come out of and they look great. Some hydration breaks they'd come out of and they look slow, and that's how they gave up 2 goals. You know, like, it's situations like that where you just see who is tactically minded as a coach and who needs to just be a guy that sets the strategy before the game and will change it at halftime and then doesn't care the rest of the time. Like, he just has better players. And I think that was an amazing thing and a really great thing for young coaches and young players to see, is like, this is an actual evidence of why coaches in soccer, why coaches in football matter, is the hydration break. Because you can see tactics just strategically change immediately. And it was so cool to watch an actual game where you had real influence beyond a preset strategy going into a match. And that was cool to me. Like, that, just from a statistical and analytical standpoint, it was just really amazing to see.
No, yeah, that was an awesome thing about. And once again, like I said, coaches will take any time you give them. They're gonna give them. They're gonna go full send. You give them an inch, they'll take a mile. That's literally what you're gonna get from those guys.
And there's some coaches who rue their decisions from that hydration break. Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, and so for my good, and I'll honestly tell you, as much as I was talking about people complaining, these people aren't fans.
Yeah,
not fans. So I know it's the good, but the great part of this competition, which is always the great part of this competition, is the fans. It's the fans that come to this country and just fell in love with everything that U.S. had to offer. To love going, like the guy Fred, right? Fred that basically just hung out in the south of Texas, in the south of the United States. Went to Buc-ee's, went to experience food. J.J. Watt got him a hotel room. Dude was living his best life to the point where he went to Boston and then came back to the South because he loved the South that much. He went to a Waffle House. He went to Buc-ee's. He tried Whataburger. You know, like, he had a blast. And we had even a Scottish fan that did the similar thing where some people were like, "You're not going to go see Scotland?" He's like, "No, I'm here to experience the U.S. and watch the World Cup." Like, I mean, yeah, it would have been cool if he went to a Scotland game, but also, like, me, for instance, I wanted to go see Germany versus Curacao. Mm-hmm. I didn't go because I couldn't afford it, but at the end of the day, like, you know how awesome it was to see, well, especially because we had the Dutch national team was here in Houston. They played a group match here.
Oh yeah,
the coolest thing ever, and it was just the funniest thing, was just having a bunch of Dutch people hanging out at Dutch Bros. Before they went to their march that they did back. So they went to the University of Houston and they started their march to Houston Stadium, which is a tradition that obviously the Dutch have. And it was awesome. As a matter of fact, I had friends that actually somehow, I guess, put in a loan to get these tickets. And they went and was part of the walk. None of my friends are Dutch.
They're Dutch today.
See, that's the thing I love about this World Cup. The World Cups in general. The thing I love about the World Cup. One of my favorite memories was 2018 I literally just wore a Paul Pogba jersey. That's what I was wearing. And I remember, first of all, they tried to speak French to me, and I was like, oh, I don't speak French. And they're like, oh, you're not French? Oh, you're not French? I was like, I'm not French. I'm actually American. And like, well, today you're French. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. As a matter of fact, like, I remember I'm just wandering around the bar because I was there by myself, trying to find a place to like a little spot to sit so I can watch the final. And these guys called me over and told me, no, you're sitting with us. You're gonna hang out with us. They even had some French bread and jelly, which I thought that was a very interesting decision. But cool, I was fine with it, man. That's the things that I love about this tournament is the people that are it's not a cultural appropriation. It's none of that. It's just people embracing each other's cultures. The people that went to Mexico and fell in love with Mexico's culture, the food, everything. People coming to the United States, and by the way, guys, there is a culture here in the United States.
Lots of cultures.
I'm sorry that you guys are too angry at this country that you guys can't understand that. And that's the only time I'll be political. That's not even political. I love this country. I hate the left and I hate the right. I'm just going to say that right there. I hate both sides. They both suck. But I still love this country. Like, I still love what this country has to offer. There's so many unique things in every state. Every state is different. Every state has its own identity. And it was awesome watching the people that actually got to enjoy that. There's this guy on TikTok that's from England. He comes to the U.S. and he just talks about how much he loves the U.S. That German guy that brought a giant bottle of ranch with him because they don't have ranch in Germany.
Yeah,
I get it. I'm not a ranch guy.
I don't like ranch, but I get it. Yeah,
like that's the thing that's awesome to me is the people that were embracing the cultures. The I think it was like a German and a guy from Curacao. I don't remember who it was, but they did a jersey swap at the stadium. Like, this is the stuff that I love about the World Cup is just the people mixing in. You know what? And the people that were making fun of, oh, why are you wearing a Guatemala jersey it's the World Cup. Their team's not in the World Cup, but they still want to be there. Their presence. I was cheering for a referee. I was cheering for a referee because I have a Salvadorian in the semifinal of the World Cup. So, yeah, I was happy. Everyone had something to cheer for, man. At the end of the day, everyone became Norwegian in this World Cup. Everybody. I don't care who you are. Everybody wanted to do the row. Hell, Gilberto Mora, who, by the way, his agent is also Erling Haaland's agent, got him a Norway jersey, and there he is watching Norway versus England doing the row.
A blank Norway jersey, by the way, which I thought was the funniest part. Is they're like, no, we're not going to give you a number and name on it. It's just going to be blank. But
yeah,
no, I agree. I think there's one thing that I think the takeaway from this, from a good standpoint, is this kind of goes back to the politics conversation. Is a country is not its politicians, especially a country like the U.S. and especially like Mexico and Canada. You could include them in this. In their own rights, all three countries are their own different mixing pots. Melting pot is the old famous term for what the U.S. is. But it goes beyond the borders of just the U.S. Canada is this way as well. There's a lot of different cultures out of Canada. There's a lot of different cultures out of Mexico within Mexican culture. Like, there are all of these things that you learn and you experience. And, you saw it across. I didn't see very many bad posts. And the bad posts I saw were actually two fans from different nations fighting each other, not any Americans being involved in the conversation. And I think that's part of it, that a lot of the fans that came here and got to experience it, they got to see the good of the people from these countries and from these states, from these cities. And I think that's the thing that's going to, I think out of all the bad stuff that we talked about, I think the good, I wholeheartedly agree, is there is a culture and there's subcultures to the culture within the United States, within Mexico, within Canada that you will never get anywhere else. It's unique to this area. It's unique to each state within the United States. It's within each region of Mexico, within each province of Canada. Toronto and Vancouver cannot be more different. The same can be said from San Francisco to Atlanta to Houston to Kansas City. Even though they both make barbecue, if you tell them it's all the same, you will learn real quick that Kansas City barbecue and Houston barbecue are completely different. And it's not in a bad way. I mean, they're literally going to cook for you and feed you until your stomach wants to explode.
Texas is better, though.
Okay. Thought we weren't going to get political here, Hector. Come on.
Not when it comes to barbecue, man. I'm gonna go full send, buddy.
But I think that's the thing, like with all this, with everything from the World Cup that people can take away with, is that there was, through everything, it was actually a good experience for the people that came here that weren't, and it almost feels weird just for you to say this, but it almost feels like the players on the teams might have actually been treated worse, especially from like players from Iran or players even from Morocco and Egypt. They were treated worse by immigration than their fans were. Iraq was the same way. Like, their fans were treated relatively good, but the players not so much. Now, there were some issues in the stadiums between people who couldn't shut the mouths, specifically streamers that don't understand soccer. But outside of that, I mean, overall, the experience from what I could see appeared to be very good. And I haven't seen, like I said, I haven't seen very many bad, and I've actively searched for the bad because I'm curious to see what the bad experiences were. And most of them aren't like that. Like, I think the worst I saw was somebody had their rental car towed because they parked in the wrong spot. I'm like, oh, that's California for you. Sorry. I wish I could take that back for you. But you know.
I mean, when you heard everybody talk about, like, the first thing we're like, it's not like how the news portrays this country. This is actually, the people are amazing. The city is amazing. People were talking about how much they love Houston, even though it's not a very walkable city. I've said that plenty of times. But
not much of America is walkable compared to the rest of the world.
But people enjoyed where they stayed. Like, it to me, that was the best part, was that the U.S. did do a good job hosting the country, because we got to see what the U.S. is supposed to be. What it's supposed to be, this inviting city where it is a country of immigrants. It is a country, or settlers, whatever you want to call it. But it's
immigrants.
It is the melting pot. You know, like, at the end of the day, like, there's so much good things about this country, and I wish people would just not be so blindsided with the clear flaws. And trust me, I know the clear flaws. But at the end of the day, like, how I always explain to people, because people have some theories about my service, but I didn't choose to serve my country because, oh, I'm this red, white, and blue, deep red state guy. Like, one, I'm not. I do love this country. I am a patriot. But I serve my country because I wanted to protect its people. For that person that wants to speak against the country, so they can do it. Because that's the big thing about it. One, for me to be able to say whatever I want to say, and while there probably should be repercussions for some of the things I say, at the end of the day, that's the freedom that I have. Freedom that everyone has. That doesn't mean that one person gets to say whatever they want, the other person doesn't. That's not how it works. Everyone is here to be who they want to be. And I say that all the time, man. Be who you want to be. Be happy. Choose happiness. That's why I don't like to complain as much. That's why I don't like to be angry. I choose to be happy. I don't think it's a hard thing. This World Cup, everyone should just choose to be happy. Like, and that's the beauty of the World Cup. That's the beauty of what the World Cup is supposed to be, is the day we get to choose to be happy and just enjoy this game. This game that has even stopped wars for a brief period.
Approximately 9 days in the middle of a heated World War at that.
So, like I said, man, this was one of those where I just wish people chose more happiness. And we did. Yeah. We did see the happiness in this World Cup.
Yeah, we need more of it, honestly. Like, I hate to say this, but like, if every World Cup was promoted as much as this one was, men's, women's, youth, I think there would be a lot better of a conversation around World Cups and hosting them, and then also around different countries. And this goes, I mean, even Qatar, you could say that from the World Cup, like people who visited Qatar, like there was moments, but they said overall, like everybody that was actually there that helped them, like they're lovely. Like Russia was the same way. Like, sure, the politics kind of sucked, but the people that we met were lovely. Like, and that's the same. You hear that every World Cup, and you just sit here and you question every time we go into a new World Cup where you're like, oh, great, here's people complaining about the people. And they don't understand that the politics and the politicians are so much different from the people. The average person in the world just wants to live a happy life. Like, It's all they want. They're helping each other out. They're protecting each other. And specifically in this World Cup, you saw that. People didn't know where they were going. They didn't know how to get to a stadium that was on the outskirts. And there's no public transit in America. There were people hitching rides with regular residents in the United States to get to near the stadium so they could walk closer and not have to worry about getting hit by traffic. Not crossing interstates, which, by the way, is a felony in the United States. So it's like there were Americans helping out these fans that would have never expected that to be a thing and didn't know how to fix it because they've never had that experience in their own home countries. And I think that's something that I love when every time there's a World Cup that like this can be taken away every single time. Like the people are so much better than the politicians are every single time.
Exactly. And but that is the good, bad, and the ugly of this World Cup. And now, before we get to the final, the host nations, right? We had 3 host nations, first time ever in the World Cup, and next World Cup is going to be 6 host nations. So we'll get there when we get there. But just know that there's going to be 6 host nations in the next World Cup. So if you guys already thought, I thought it was cool that a whole continent got to host the World Cup. There's not many continents can say that. The only continent that might be able to say it would be Australia.
Well, most of the whole continent.
Yeah, most of the whole continent. But it was cool. It was a big deal. You know, obviously, the 2026 World Cup, expanded World Cup, all that stuff. But we had 3 host nations. We had Canada, USA, and Mexico that all got to be part of this World Cup. And I think that was kind of the big selling point for this World Cup was that you were going to have 3 countries, you know, 3 different types of infrastructure. And I think that it ended up making, I think, a very interesting World Cup and I think a really good job. My big thing was maybe we should have got a little bit more Mexican stadiums, and maybe we could have. Well, I know that that's probably the only 2 stadiums that Canada could offer, but and even the U.S. I wish we could have had more stadium options, but I get that there's a limitation. But it would have been cool just to get a little bit more. I think Chicago was such a massive miss, in my opinion. And then in Mexico, I think Toluca would have been a really cool stadium to be featured in the World Cup as well. Canada, like I said, those are the 2 stadiums that I could really.
There's one more in Canada. It probably would have been the Calgary Stampede with Calgary Stampede play, but I don't think it can be classified as a FIFA 5 stadium. So I think it's like a FIFA 4 level stadium, and also they have the CFL plays during that time frame. So that I think it kind of just crossed into that weird situation. Not
individually, but as 3 host nations, how did you feel about all 3 of the countries that hosted the World Cup?
I thought it was good. I mean, overall, I thought it was good. You know, specifically the play on the field. I think all 3 of them could be maybe after some time can look back at it and be like, you know what, this wasn't as bad as maybe we first initially thought. And I think that's the hope for me coming out of this World Cup is like, you know, just as a whole, all 3 nations continue to grow, because I think that's the huge thing for the future of the game in North America. I mean, we're talking about the 2 biggest leagues in North America are played in these 3 countries, which is the MLS, and then you have Liga MX. So you could technically throw in the Canadian Premier League as the 3rd biggest league because they are, even though most people don't know any teams that play in the Canadian Premier League. But those are your 3, like, you need them to succeed going forward, and you need them to take this World Cup and the lessons learned from this World Cup from a standpoint of the global game and apply it to the future of your federations. And I think that will be good for all 3 nations going forward. I mean, if I can get into individuals, but you said not to think about them right now, so I'm not doing that yet. But just as a whole, I think it was good.
No, I think obviously for Canada, the positive was that they got out the group stage. You know, something that they haven't been able to do in the World Cup, despite being without Alphonso Davies. You know, and at least, or maybe get like a small percentage of Alphonso Davies, if that makes more sense. Yeah. But I think for them, I think it was a good place to go out. Morocco is just going to be a big challenge. I think at the end of the day, you know, we still have to remember we're CONCACAF nations. Not trying to say that there's no way in hell we can go the distance. I mean, you know, Costa Rica in 2014 can tell you otherwise. You know, but I think, you know, for Canada, at least where their expectations, I mean, honestly, for all 3, maybe their expectations were pretty low on them, mainly just because of obviously for Alphonso Davies' health concerns, you know, Jonathan David's form going into this World Cup. You know, USA, the the constant concern of Tim Ream being in the center back position for the USA, Christian Pulisic's form going into this World Cup, Mexico, who just had nothing but doubts on this team because they just didn't believe in the coach and the players at one point. And so, like, there was always concerns going into this World Cup for them. And I think for Canada, I think that they came. And I think honestly, when I was doing my projections for this World Cup, I saw all three of them round of 16 exits.
Mm-hmm.
They were all in very favorable groups. I think most can agree. All three were in favorable groups where they should be able to come out of the groups, and I think obviously they all three of them did. Two of them winning their group, the other one came off as a runner-up, which was Canada, and then all three of them won their round of 32 match, and then went into the round of 16. Now this is where maybe that's where the tears go, if you want to talk about that. Obviously Mexico having the more standout of the performances, right? They took it to England, they went the distance with them. And when I say the distance, obviously to the final minutes of stoppage time, but to go up against England, a very strong team, obviously semifinalists, of course, third place also, but for them to go as far with England, and you like, honestly, I would tell you, man, those last 20 minutes, man, you just felt a goal was coming from Mexico, an equalizer that would have taken them to extra time, and who knows at that point, right? But I think Mexico. I think a lot of people saw the pride that these Mexicans played. Yeah. These guys play with a lot of pride. They put everything on the line. I mean, the Azteca is a difficult stadium for a reason to play in, and that home field advantage was very much shown in this World Cup. And I said it plenty of times, man. If this Mexico team doesn't perform, those fans are going to let them know. Mm-hmm. And luckily, they put out an amazing performance where everyone's going to just. It's kind of like bittersweet, right? Bitter because obviously you got eliminated in the World Cup. Sweet because everybody respected you from that performance. You had Canada, which, like I said, they just had no response to Morocco. And then you had the U.S., where, I mean, when we're looking, I don't think I'm ever going to be able to look back at it and say that was like at all a decent performance. It was rough. I don't know what it was, deer caught in the headlights, where they just. Maybe the distractions that was going on along, at the end of the day, they just never played how they played against Australia, how they played against Paraguay. Not even how they played against Turkey or Bosnia. They just did not play with that same intensity that they had in those matches, and that's kind of where I was concerned with this team. Where were they mentally against this Belgium team, and a Belgium team that looked like the better team on the field, at least for that day, because then. We saw what Belgium really was capable of against Spain. But yeah, I mean, when it came down to it, as far as play on the field, even though they all exited at the same level, I think Mexico is the one that has the most positives going into it. And I mean, obviously, their coach stepped down. Rafa Marquez is set to be the next coach for Mexico. And you also mentioned, we're mentioning Canada, you're going to have Jesse Marsch for a full cycle. At least that's what it looks like it's going to happen. And then with the U.S., there's still some questions as far as what's going to happen for the U.S. as far as the coach goes. Though they are right now in talks with Pochettino and seeing what would be a full cycle with Pochettino. But when we talk this is going to be the question where I'm going to have you now involved, Kelcey. Where do these three countries go from here?
Yeah. I think, okay, so I'm going to put them, like we just did the good, bad, ugly, right? For moments for the World Cup. I'm going to put these three in their own good, bad, ugly. Because I think the ones that surpassed expectations beyond anybody else was Canada. Despite how they went out, to do as much as they did without Alphonso Davies starting and playing every minute of the World Cup. The guy that's on McDonald's cups. Like, if we want to classify players as necessary, the moment you're put on a McDonald's cup from your nation, you're probably considered the most talented player of your country, whether you like it or not. And so with that said, to do what they did, and assuming Jesse Marsch returns, now the system's in place. Now he can now apply the system that has gotten his players to this point and see if he can improve it. Because for whatever reason, Canada and players like Kyle Larin and some of Tayshaun Buchanan, they play better with a Canadian crest on their chest. And that's something that I think is misunderstood from Canada's perspective. To me, I looked at them as a round of 32 out. I didn't think they were going to get to round of 16. I really didn't. I thought if they had got out as one, they would have been in the worst possible situation and they would have been bounced in the round of 32. They got out in second place, which was like, okay, great. Now you didn't even win your group. They won their first round, which shocked me. It honestly did. But it's a situation where you are out on the right foot and you look to have continuance through the next World Cup. So I think you can build off of that if you're Canada. You do have young players playing overseas. You can also bring in players from any of the UK countries and bring them in as a Canadian citizen based on the way that whole thing works. You do have a huge talent pool, but you also have a growing talent pool within Vancouver, within Toronto, within Edmonton, within Calgary, within Ontario that are growing. Build those. Develop those. Use some of these Canadian Premier League teams that are starting to work their way in, Thunder Bay, things like that. Jesse Marsch can develop them. He's proven it so far that he can do that. Can he do it for a whole cycle? We don't know yet. But it seems that he has proven that he can bring along players and help them find a next level and play together because he takes over as the lightning rod for the Canadian national team. He is where all the targeted emotion gets brought by the media. The good thing for Canada, most of their media isn't that harsh in comparison to the rest of the world, not to their soccer teams. So it is a situation where he still takes all the brunt of it, taking the brunt of the pressure off of Buchanan, off of Kyle Larin, off of Jonathan, off of Alphonso Davies, takes all that pressure away from him, puts it on one single person. I think that helps. I think also Canada can take a little bit of solace knowing they made it to the round of 16 without probably their best midfielder, best holding midfielder for sure, in Koke. I think his injury was tragic. And to see him go out and leave was rough. So now you get a young team back with more experience under their belts, a relatively young team with more experience with their under the belts. Maybe you can flesh out these wing positions. You might lose somebody like Larea in the transition from one team to the next, just based off of age. But there's a lot of things to be positive about for this Canadian team. For Mexico, I think it's a kind of a bummer that they're rebuilding because I did think this team could do more if they can just have more time to develop. But like all things, Mexico had a lot of high expectations despite all the questions. Like, that's just the Mexican national team way. It's like, we think we're better than you because we feel on our best days we can be better than anybody, especially at home. It does suck the way they went out because they did play exceptionally well up until that point. It is fitting, though, that they go out with the end of all the games being played in Mexico. So end of round of 16 ended. No more games were played in Mexico for the rest of the tournament. It was fitting that that's where Mexico gets bounced. So I do think for Mexico, it's like, obviously it's another rebuilding period, but it's a rebuilding period where you have a lot of young pieces in place already. You know who's going to be that next generation already. You already know, hey, here's 11 players we're targeting for growth over the next 4 years. And that are actually going to get competitive minutes over the next 4 years, not just club, but also for country. And that's going to be a huge piece of it as well. This isn't going to be a lame duck Gold Cup. This isn't going to be a lame duck qualifying series. There's also the Olympics in between that is going to be happening. So these young players will also get Olympic moments along with their development, which Mexico loves the Olympics for what it's worth. Mexico in soccer absolutely is passionate about the Olympics. They want an Olympic gold for soccer. And they're going to try to develop that young talent in time for that, which I think they can do it. Which will also be, it's not necessarily Rafa Marquez that'll be coaching that team because regulations for IOC versus Mexico's national team, it's a whole weird thing. But it's something that you look at it and you think Mexico maybe didn't get as far as they would have liked to, but you don't feel bad about where they got because where they got was captivating. It was enthralling. It got Mexican fans behind them. As you said, there would have been boos being rained down upon them if it was bad. And instead they were cheered off like heroes in their own right. And I think that's for Mexico, I think was huge for what they needed to accomplish. So they have a lot to be forward to. It's a lot of great things. And then for the U.S., I think it's a thing where you got to figure out one thing at a time. Steve Cherundolo is going to be coaching the Olympic team because, again, like I said, IOC versus soccer federations, it's a whole problem versus FIFA. So it doesn't really matter, but he's also a guy you're looking at as potential replacement for Pochettino if Pochettino doesn't come in. So that could be a problem. So I look at this as a figure out Pochettino's moment. What does he want to do? Next, let's figure out our center back situation because it was very obvious. It's Chris Richards, and I think you can say probably Austin Trusty is the next best. And then after that, what do you do? Because there's a lot of guys that could have been called in that weren't for various reasons, injuries, out of form, whatever it be. But we got to figure it out. You also have to figure out your goalkeepers. You also have to figure out what to do with your stacked, and I say stacked, I mean, it's just really filled with your forward and wing players. So you need to get Pochettino figured out first so you can get somebody to come in and bring a system with them. Or Pochettino can completely install a 4-year system for the next cycle. And that will allow you to figure out the positional situations because it's something you and I debated off air a lot coming into the World Cup. I didn't feel like they had enough positional awareness of what they're going to be doing for Pochettino. When we watched them play in the World Cup, it was a really, really good and fun team to watch until the Belgium game. But I think that Belgium game took every good thing you had done up until the point and crushed it. And that's my concern for the U.S. If Pochettino walks, all the good that was built, was it crushed during that loss to Belgium? Because that was a crushing defeat. And that's something you can't get over. And this is already a generation of players who they started out their time with the U.S. by missing an Olympic qualifying period, by missing a World Cup, and then coming back into the fold. That's how this generation started. They were the post-World Cup miss, Olympic miss generation. And so we can't lose another generation if you're the U.S. You can't lose another generation to a defeat in a World Cup round of 16 match that, if we're being completely honest, is tied for the most amount of games you've ever played in a World Cup. It's not a bad thing, guys. 5 games in a World Cup is a good thing. It just has a different branding on it. It's not a bad thing, but it's everybody in the media and everybody who thinks they know anything about football chalks us up as a travesty. We're ranked lower than Mexico. We were ranked lower than Mexico coming into the World Cup. We did worse than Mexico, but not by much. Let's relax on this being a travesty. But until we can get past that, it's like I'm concerned for the future of the U.S. because until they figure out Poch, I don't know what's next.
I think obviously figuring out the Pochettino situation or the coaching situation, whether it is a Cherundolo or maybe you can get BJ Callahan to leave Nashville, which might be a little bit hard just because of where Nashville is at right now. But I think I think the U.S. is definitely. I think that it's so interesting with Pochettino because, especially here in this podcast, we like to make fun of Pochettino being available for any one of our jobs, any of our clubs. But I think he came in and I think he said a lot of the things, a lot of the right things. Like, he talked about fighting for the badge. He talked about fighting for the shirt, fighting for each other, caring, right? Caring about this stuff.
Being passionate, have pride with the national anthem. I think it's funny that you have a foreigner having to explaining to Americans about being proud of being American, that it's okay to be proud. It's okay to be happy to be an American, but that's because of the Argentine in him, right? Because there's the pride in being Argentinian, an Argentine. There's a pride of being from Argentina, at the end of the day. I'm not gonna go any further to that. But I think, Pochettino, he did a lot of great things. He built a mentality with this team when they have done it right. I don't know. I don't put it on Pochettino with the Belgium game because it was a mess. That Belgian game was just a mess.
It was just a mess. But I think You made a good point. They need to figure out the goalkeeper situation. Matt Freese, and I viewed him as this for the longest, which was he's just a stopgap.
Yeah.
He's just a stopgap for right now. It was great while we had him. I don't think Matt Turner would have been any better. For people that are trying to say that Matt Turner, he has World Cup experience. Not great World Cup experience, by the way, but he does have World Cup experience. So I guess you want to look at it like that. But I think there's a reason why Poch trusted Matt Freese more than he trusted Matt Turner. And so I think that there's that value on that one. But Chris Brady would be an interesting name to follow because he is a guy that Pochettino brought along as the third keeper. You have Diego coaching with Barcelona, wondering if he's going to be making a move anytime soon. I don't think that Barcelona has a backup keeper right now for Joan. But just keep an eye on that for coaching because I am very intrigued by him.
Righteous Felon Craft Jerky is the official jerky of Belly Up Sports. For over a decade, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky has led the American meat snack revolution by concocting delicious, adventurous, U.S.-sourced jerky recipes for uncompromising carnivores across the country. With 15 different flavors to choose from, Righteous Felon has all jerky lovers covered, and by using promo code BELLYUP, you will get 15% off your purchase at righteousfelon.com. Do your taste buds a favor today and rip into a bag of Righteous Felon jerky.
Julian Eyestone, who plays for Brentford, who plays in Brentford's system right now. Now I think he's a backup keeper now, but he was actually called in for the U.S. to be the practice keeper, the fourth keeper for the USA. So if you guys were wondering who was that tall behemoth next to Matt Freese when they were doing the prayer circle, that's Julian Eyestone. But that's a name to follow. There's, I know Kelcey's boy, Gaga Sonina. I believe he's set to be making a move as well pretty soon.
Supposed to be.
But the keeper position needs to be addressed, needs to be committed to, and make sure we get the best out of him in this 4-year cycle that we have till we go to Spain, Morocco, Portugal, mixed in with Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay. So World Cup. Yeah. So
I gotta say, like the goalkeeper thing for the U.S., it does bother me a lot that our top 10, 11 players in the goalkeeper pool for the U.S., according to ESPN, are all MLS players. And it's not necessarily that it's like it bothers me because they're just MLS players. It bothers me because a lot of them are MLS players who have returned to the MLS after failed stints overseas. And when I look at the U.S. men's national team keeper pool in history, it's gotten worse, obviously, since Tim Howard, but even Brad Guzan coming back to the MLS. The moment Brad Guzan started coming back to the MLS was the moment that the MLS, like the American goalkeepers, sort of petered out, because that has been, for the longest time, that has been the strongest piece of any American team in a World Cup. I mean, all the way back, Casey Keller, Brad Friedel, you name them. Even before Keller, there was another keeper whose name is escaping me. But then Tim Howard, Brad Guzan, Zach Steffen before he came back, Ethan Horvath. These guys were all overseas players. They were all learning to play an actual keeper role, not just a stop ball role, which is, I think, this is something because I've coached goalkeepers, because I've played as a keeper. This is something in America that I can tell you with certainty. You're taught to catch the ball, which is great, but you're not taught how to play keeper. And that's the part where every one of our keepers fails. Where you saw Matt Freese have that bonehead move was a position that any player that's taught how to play keeper, which is different than just being a stop ball keeper. Like, stop ball keeper means you just stop the ball and you hold on to it. That's all it is. But an actual keeper is a player. You can use your feet. You can make decisions like a field player. And those are the moments where Matt Freese failed. Those are the moments where Matt Turner failed in the past. And that's Chris Brady even scares me in those same roles, because they're not comfortable making decisions like a sweeper would as a defender. And we're asking you with our formations to play that role. So it's like you either got to do one or two things. You got to build a fortress in front of them so that all they're doing is stopping the ball, or you need to bring in keepers who have done it from the American point of view, because the one good thing American keepers have always had is their strength and their height, and they catch the ball first. Their mentality is to catch the ball, not just parry it away. Those are three of the strongest things that come with the American keeper. The things that come great with every other country is their ability to play with their feet and stop with every part of their body to parry away. And they understand the angles. They understand what it means to parry with your foot on a kick save and to get the ball to roll 10 feet out of bounds outside of the 6-yard box or just outside of the corner flag. Like, they understand those things that American keepers never have been taught. And that's something like whoever comes in, bring in a goalkeeper coach, bring in a Tim Howard, bring in a Casey Keller, bring in a Brad Friedel, bring in somebody with you to help coach keepers to be quality keepers first, not just a guy who catches the ball. Because it is truly one of the most difficult positions to play if you're playing at a high level. It's not just you're not standing back there and just stopping the ball and this is all I got to do. You got to kick, you got to think mentally. You're directing defenders, you're directing the center back who is the point guard of the defense. Like, you are doing all that because you can see all of it. It is up to you to make the split decisions of how you want to make a play on a ball that's over the top. Do you want to chase it? Do you want to shut down the angle early? Do you want to come late? Do you want to just sit back and just try to stop it late? Like, does this guy have a bad second touch? So you're just waiting on that second touch. Like, you have to make these decisions early in the movement. And American keepers aren't taught to do that. They're not taught to play that way. And it's something that I don't know how you fix it other than to bring in guys that have done it, because it's something that you really can't teach in the American style. You just have to let them learn. Maybe you take their gloves off and play them as a sweeper for a while in practice. I don't know. Take your pick. But, like, they actually have to be taught how to be a keeper and not just a guy who used to play baseball in college and now he's playing soccer. And that's, I think, the biggest thing. Like, if we're going to fix the goalkeeper position, you got to fix the goalkeeper position to be what is a quality keeper now.
No, yeah, I mean, I think we can go on and on about the U.S. about what needs to be done, but yeah, I think that figure out the coaching situation, who is going to, and commit to this guy.
Yeah,
I mean, look, as much as I was relieved that we moved on from Greg Berhalter, we fired this guy only to bring him back. We even hired a search firm that I highly doubt that they recommended Greg Berhalter, but you hired Greg Berhalter back anyways. When BJ Callahan was right there. But I'm never going to forget that.
Who can bring in the most money? That's at the end of the day.
Well, you definitely get the right complaints, but every single moment that I just have to, like, look back at knowing that BJ Callahan was there and had the guys playing amazing.
Yeah.
I just have to remind myself that happened, and now I don't get that anymore. So it's
the same coach for this generation, that BJ Callahan, by the way, that led them as deep into the Youth World Cup and the Under-20 World Cup as they did. I mean, he understands this specific generation of players better than anybody else ever has.
But on top of that, I think U.S. needs to start giving a crap about all our competitions. The one thing I will say that Mexico has the edge over the U.S. is they actually give a crap about Gold Cup.
Yes.
Will they mix in a few players? Sure. But, I mean, last Gold Cup, we had Raul Jimenez was starting. We had Gilberto Mora. Gilberto Mora was the star of that Gold Cup. We had players for Mexico that were going to play. Malagon, if it wasn't for an injury, was going to be the starting goalkeeper for Mexico. Props to Rangel. I think he did a great job. Maybe now people are having questions whether or not Rangel should be the guy versus Malagon, because Rangel had some amazing saves.
Yes.
By the way, during that run, which they had speaking of Spain's defensive prowess, but I mean, Mexico also had a clean sheet streak going on for them as well.
All the way up until the England game.
All the way up to the England game. But with that being said, man, yeah, I think first it needs to come down where the U.S. needs to start caring about all the competitions that they have in front of them. Don't view CONCACAF as a reason why they're not performing. And I'm tired of hearing everyone like, we just need to move away from CONCACAF. It's not the Confederation. It's Mexico is proof that it's not the Confederation.
Are we just going to up and move the country, put it on wheels, and just cart it over to Asia? And like, oh, hey, guys, we're part of AFCON now, or part of Asia, the AFC. Like, what do people are dumb. Sorry.
Mind you, Australia moved to AFC. I don't see them being contenders right now. So
No, they moved to the AFC, and they went from winning every Oceania tournament to being like kicked out of the Oceania to AFC, and now they're like, crap, we got to beat these guys? Oh, great.
So, yeah, I mean, so I don't necessarily, in CONMEBOL, I mean, it's a lot of, sorry for cussing, Kelcey, shithousery in CONMEBOL. So, don't sit here and tell me, oh, the quality of play is so much better. No, like at the end of the day, give a crap about your games. View every game as an important game. We talk about some of the best athletes in the world. Like, Lionel Messi is chomping at the bit to play for Argentina. I mean, it drained him to the point where he almost retired. Well, he did retire. He just a day later changed his mind. But it's draining. But he wanted to play for Argentina. Just like any of those, like anybody that chooses to play for an African nation, they're playing there because they want to play there. Sprinkle on maybe a few people that probably don't, but it's mostly guys that have pride for playing for their country, and they'll play in any competition. AFCON gets all the hype in the world because there's a pride in playing in the AFCON. There needs to be that pride for Gold Cup. Mexico has it. Every other Central American, Caribbean nation that gets in the Gold Cup, it's a big deal for them because it's a huge opportunity for them. One, for money. Two, they get to show the world what they're capable of. So those are the things that people need to, like, the U.S. needs to start giving a crap about this competition. They need to, I get it that we're about to have Copa America Centenario, Copa America for some reason again here in the U.S., and that's another opportunity for the U.S. men's national team to showcase what they can do. But give a crap like that for Gold Cup. Give a crap about the competition. Because same thing with the Olympics. The Olympics, I thought it was such a missed opportunity for Christian Pulisic not to be part of that competition. Not to have a Weston McKennie, not to have an Anthony Robinson. Like, you're allowed to have, I believe, 3 players that are over the age of 26.
23.
23. Over the age of 23.
Yep.
You mean to tell me you didn't want to bring in Christian Pulisic, you didn't want to bring Weston McKennie, you didn't want to bring Jedi or old man Tim Ream? Like, you didn't want to bring any of those guys to play with the young guys to be like, hey, this is the standard, this is what we expect for you to play with the senior team. No? Okay. Missed opportunity after missed opportunity. And I get it that, Copa America happened, we were playing Copa America, we didn't want. And I don't want to hear it because Julian Alvarez was like, yeah, I just played Copa America, let me go ahead and play in the Olympics. If you give a crap, you'll play. And so you need to start giving a crap. That's why, like, I was so off, and I was so off on Christian Pulisic for such the longest time because of just the podcast, the documentary series that he thought was a good idea. Him going on podcast saying that, like, oh, I wanted to play the friendlies, I didn't want to play the Gold Cup. You rested a whole season, and I get it, you got hurt, and I'm not taking that away from you. But this was the time to showcase what you can do, and honestly, you weren't the talk of this World Cup for the U.S. You were not a good talk
for the U.S.
You were criticized. You were definitely criticized, but it was more so the Malik Tillman, the Chris Richards is amazing, Weston McKennie is amazing. Those guys stepped up in those moments. Christian Pulisic, he got an assist, which is great. I'm not taking away. Then he got hurt, and then obviously what happened in Belgium, he was a non-fact. He just was. Bosnia kept him quiet too. So, but it was the Ballon, it was Weston McKennie, it was Chris Richards, it was everybody except for Christian Pulisic that was getting their shine. Alex Freeman had his moment as well.
Yeah.
So like
Dest, who had been written off by several pundits, even though they don't know football, but they thought they did.
Yeah. So U.S. is in an interesting situation. Yes, the coaching needs to be settled, whether it is going to be Mauricio Pochettino or if they need to bring a coach in. And the first name I'm thinking is Mauricio Pochettino. Next one is me being super biased is Pellegrino Matarazzo, but I don't think he's leaving his situation in Real Sociedad, especially now that the man's basically a god now over there for winning the Copa del Rey against Atletico Madrid of all teams. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and it's got to be someone that gives a crap about this country. The fact that Pochettino was over here telling everybody how he went to go watch Miracle. Got his Disney Plus account and then was like, I went to go watch Miracle. And it was just something about Kurt Russell. But
he embodied, and maybe it's the Argentinian in him, because we see a lot of correlation between the U.S. mentality and the Argentinian mentality, especially when it comes to sport. Maybe it's that he resonates with that underdog style.
Why not?
Yeah, like, why not? Why can't we be the team? And I think that's Argentina to a T, and that's the U.S. to a T. We play our best when we're considered underdogs. We love to upset the Cinderella every single time. Like we want to be the team.
That's why, like, I hated everyone. I hated that everyone was like dogging on him for saying that. Yeah, I think we can make it to the semifinal. Like, well, he didn't say I believe we can get to the semifinal. Like, everyone's like, dude, it's the U.S. They're never gonna do it. Why can't they believe that?
Yeah, that's from a managerial standpoint, it's a great thing to do.
Costa Rica made it to the semifinals.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm not saying that we're better than Costa Rica. Maybe now we are. But that Costa Rica team went against the odds, right? Keylor Navas got the job of a lifetime for himself, and, which paid off tremendously. Maybe not so much at the end, but where he won 3 Champions Leagues with Real Madrid.
Yeah. So,
like, yes, it is that why not us mentality. Costa Rica had that why not us, and they win further than
every CONCACAF country should have that. Like, that should be built into CONCACAF as a confederation. If I'm being honest, if we're all just being honest with ourselves, that, simply put, that typifies the style of CONCACAF football. Is why not us? But Paraguay, you think Paraguay didn't think that versus, and I know it's not CONCACAF, but CONMEBOL, close enough. It's
CAF was why not us?
Yeah, but like, it's crazy to me, man. It is just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I agree. But all right, that's enough for the host nations. We have a final. We had a final.
Did we? I missed it. I missed it between the fights. My bad.
Yeah. Spain put in a masterclass. Maybe not so much on the attacking side, but a masterclass. Well, there was the attacking side was great. I'm gonna do this for this final. Biggest storyline for you in the final? What was, like, now that the dust is all settled? What was the biggest thing that you took away from Spain 1, Argentina 0?
The inability of Argentina to piece anything together consistently. I think that's the big tell for me from the storyline to take away from this, is it wasn't just like a little bit. It was, and especially you saw it a lot more at the end of the game, obviously with Messi being the only man up front after the Enzo getting send off situation. But overall, the storyline to me was, it looked like the ultimate pushing a hill uphill both ways in the snow type of situation for Argentina to piece anything from the defense to the forwards together. And I mean, it was typified by Messi just not touching the ball. I mean, at one point in time, the second half before Enzo got sent off, it was 22 total touches, and they had 2 shots on goal. Or 2 shots. I think it was 2 total shots or something like that. Something egregious like that. And I was like, this doesn't make sense. This is not an Argentina team that we would expect to see. And I think you can take that 2 ways. You can take that as, holy crap, Spain held onto the ball forever and didn't allow them to get into the flow of the game. Or alternatively, how quick was Spain to recover the ball? And that's what I want to focus on, is like, with the storyline of Argentina not being able to piece anything together, it's truly just down to, when Spain turned the ball over, they filled every passing lane and shut down the key pass lanes, especially to guys like Messi, to Enzo, to Julian Alvarez. Like, it didn't exist. There was no forward passing lanes whatsoever for Argentina, and it was kind of amazing to watch from that standpoint for Spain. Like, I I think top to bottom, like, sure, it may have not been a high scoring game, but if you thought that game was boring, I beg of you to maybe watch a little more soccer and then watch that game again, because that was a absolutely impressive situation, that class that Spain put on for how to shut down the GOAT of a generation, because he had been carrying him.
I mean, props to De La Fuente, man.
That was impressive.
I mean, the man did it, I believe, amongst all the ranks in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
The dude has quite the resume for him, and to top it all now, has the Euro, won the Euro. The progression of Spain, I think, once they moved on from, I don't want to say golden generation, but I think it's definitely fair to say golden generation of players.
I think the pre-golden generation, so the one before the Xavi Iniesta generation, like when they moved into the Xavi era, it was like a night and day situation. Like all of a sudden they learned how to play football again, and now we're watching the winning part of that.
That 2010 Spain team, I mean, the names on names, you're talking about David Villa, you're talking about Xavi and Andres Iniesta, arguably like the greatest the greatest midfield pairing of all time. You had Carlos Puyol and Sergio Ramos, which, by the way, wasn't even playing center back. He was a fullback for that.
Yeah, left back. Like he started his career as left back. Yeah.
Iker Casillas, right? Like that was a loaded team of icons. And as a matter of fact, they were all present. They were all present, sitting in the suite.
You know who was present that shocked me? Not from like a standpoint of like he wasn't good, but from the standpoint of like he wasn't a crucial part of that team, but he was still there. If that tells you how important this team was together, was Jesus Navas.
Yeah.
He was he was front row in that crew. And I was just sitting there like, I'm like, that's Jesus Navas. Like, why is Jesus Navas here? Because he was not starting. He was not their consistent winger or anything like that. He would coming off the bench. He wore 22 for the national team, which if you know World Cup national teams, that means you're one of the last guys, quote unquote, considered for a roster. You're not a starter for the most part. Obviously, there's some exceptions. Or Lamine Yamal with 19. Like, there's certain exceptions, but for the most part, you have to be at number 1 through 26, and they give 1 through 11 to the starters usually. But yeah, like Jesus Navas, like being there, that tells you throughout the golden generation, there's also these guys that mattered, and that was impressive too.
Yeah, I mean, a true legend of the game, especially if you're a Sevilla fan. But yeah, no, I think that Spain team you're talking about won the Euro, World Cup, won the Euro. And I mean, it looks like it's going to happen again with the Spanish team. I mean, and also for Spain, you kind of started slow because you didn't have Lamine Yamal available. He was finally now at his health. He was at his healthiest now. Nico Williams still was taking some time, but as soon as he came off the bench, which was part of probably one of the best well-played goals I've ever seen in my life. I mean,
yes,
the cross. Then you had the little header from Nico to bring it down, put it right there for Ferran Torres, a guy that didn't score nothing in his entire World Cup, getting his Mario Götze moment, which is funny that it happened on Argentina. But, I mean, so if you got, for those of you that don't watch It's Her Name FC or this is your first time, Edwards' largest issue with Barcelona is Ferran Torres. He everything he does, he just does not like him in the team. And which is funny because this season Ferran Torres has come up big. It's a big moments for Spain. I mean for Barcelona. And then the reason why I know this is because me and Edward were watching it at my apartment. He brought his boys over. I had another friend of mine that also came to watch it. And as soon as Ferran Torres came on the field, Edward even said it. Crap, he's going to score a goal, isn't he?
Get him on a recording saying that now.
And I was like, Edward, what happens if Ferran scores a goal? And he's just like, I mean, he's just like, it could happen. And as soon as it happened, everyone was happy because obviously he was rooting for Spain because obviously, basically, it's Barcelona.
Yeah.
Barcelona sprinkled in with Cucurella, who's technically a Real Madrid player. Not yet,
Sort of.
obviously, but
Sort of.
he signed the contract. But yeah, no, I mean, I thought it was one of the best goals I've ever seen in my life, which is kind of funny because this game was. I enjoyed every minute of it. I enjoyed defensive football. Everybody knows that. I am the boring guy. I am the boring guy. I like pitchers duels. I like in American football when teams are both very defensive and it's that 13-3 scoreline almost doesn't look that bad to me. But I get it that like it's kind of crazy. You had this 1-0 scoreline in extra time, and then literally the day before you had a 10-goal performance from
that should have been more
in a pointless match with France and England. But I think this World Cup final was really good. I think Argentina. I think when I asked that question, how is this Argentina team going to respond when Messi isn't available? And I talked about it on No Credentials Required when I was on their show. The way to beat Argentina is to get Messi out of the game, not hurting him, but like just making him a non-factor. And you could tell Spain avoided wherever Messi was at all times. Mm-hmm. Wherever the ball was, they made sure that Messi was nowhere near the ball play. They even kind of almost try to like shift.
So they corralled him. They corralled him into a certain way, shepherded him.
They trapped him. They trapped him from ever trying to get the ball to Messi. And so, props to Cucurella, by the way, because, strong defensive showing. Props to Montiel. I think Montiel had the hard, no, not Montiel, Tagliafico. He had the hardest challenge, which was to try to keep Lamine Yamal quiet, which, I mean, Lamine Yamal was on a different tear. I think you can see the connection with him and Dani Olmo throughout the match as it was progressing. Rodri just being that anchor. Just being that anchor.
So good.
Dude might win the Ballon d'Or if it wasn't for the fact that Man City hasn't won anything. But, this was a solid...
He can't win. Wait, Messi can't win the Ballon d'Or this year, can he?
You could definitely put a good argument for him.
No.
You could. I don't think you should, but... I'll save that question for the end. But Argentina just didn't have the answer. I think for Messi, obviously it's heartbreak, not the way you want to end your international tenure. I don't know if he's actually officially said it or not. Cristiano Ronaldo also didn't officially say it as well, but it's fair to say that this is probably the last time we're going to see these guys in the World Cup, along with many other icons of this game. But I mean, you feel for the guy. You definitely could say he's done everything for Argentina. I mean, the tail end of his career with Argentina, 3 trophies, right? He got 2 Copa del Reyes and a World Cup. He's been to 3 World Cup finals. I think that, if there's been any doubt, which I highly doubt I hate this stupid debate, but at the end of the day, it's fair to say Messi's the GOAT. If you want to say that he's better than Cristiano Ronaldo, I think it's definitely fair to say that he's better than Cristiano Ronaldo. And it's not because Cristiano Ronaldo is this shitty person. Sorry for cussing, Kelcey. It's not that he's a shitty person, but he's just not as naturally gifted as Lionel Messi is. But Spain wins their 2nd World Cup, which is great for me because that's who I predicted to win this whole thing. So I look like a Nostradamus. But the other thing I will say, when we talk about this final, the halftime show. Pre-game, anyone that says the pregame show has always been a thing. I don't think that was nothing crazy. Jennifer Hudson going ham on the national anthem was as American as it gets. The basses, the guys that came in and performed on the horns for the Spanish national anthem. I love whatever the hell that lady was wearing to do the national anthem for Argentina. Like that is the equivalent of just like a dude wearing like the USA fishing shirt, like the American flag fishing shirt with like, the socks and the matching Hey Dude shoes. Like that was all encompassing. That was just the elegant version. This was as elegant as it can be. The sun that was on her hip, that was like, all right, she was like, I'm in America. Let's do this America, but with class.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love the pregame. The pregame, never a problem.
Also,
Halftime.
people that think I'm a hater of I Show Speed, I thought he did it. That song is way better than the stupid World Cup song he did for 2022. One, he didn't mispronounce country names, so that's a positive.
Yeah. We don't do that here. We don't mispronounce things at all here.
I think he was doing it plainly, though.
Yeah, he probably. Yeah. Look, hey man, our graphics guy had some trouble too, so I can't complain too much.
But
yeah.
But let's talk about this halftime show, man.
Do we have to? Do we have to talk about the halftime show?
Okay. Is there anything positive? First of all, I know this is the U.S.'s fault somehow, but FIFA, like I said, I said this before. It was actually a topic once upon a time on this show. Infantino went to the Super Bowl. He was there watching, and then he was like, "Hey, I want a halftime show. I want a halftime show for the World Cup. Why? Money." So I don't know what to tell you. So that's exactly what it was. Madonna.
God.
The positive I take is that it was awesome seeing Ronaldo and Ronaldinho.
The positive I take, it was pre-recorded until she had to force her, like they forced her to walk her robot self out of the tunnel.
Okay, I did not know that part. But
yeah, the rest of it was pre-recorded up until that point.
It was just cool seeing Ronaldo and Ronaldinho driving a little go-kart. That was the highlight of Madonna for me. Or to quote, so my brother and my sister, I'm in a group chat with them, as you should, as your siblings. But my sister was like, Madonna needs to retire. And my brother, this is not a direct quote, but my brother said, that's Madonna. She could do whatever she wants. Also, my brother's gay. So
look, I will say this. There is a lot of respect to be had when knowing when you should walk away, Madonna. And I think today is the day we learned that maybe skin and bones isn't in vogue anymore.
She's a grandma. Or at least she is.
Isn't she a great grandma?
Maybe. Yeah,
probably. Like I thought she's a great grandma.
But
like I'm sorry, so, I don't need to see that much of Madonna.
I will say my favorite thing of this whole halftime show was the Muppets doing Seven Nation Army. that was probably the highlight.
I think after Madonna, I was okay with everything else. Like the Muppets were gimmicky. BTS looked like they were just they were doing BTS things, which I'll be honest, not a big K-pop fan. I just don't listen to it a lot.
I do know Dynamite.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely know the song. Like, I definitely know that. But it was like the performance was like very much to the camera, which I imagine for fans in the stands does kind of suck. That they're performing to a camera and not necessarily to the fans.
That guy that's in the nosebleeds at MetLife.
What are they doing? Why are they all grouped up around one guy in a black shirt? What's this? Yeah, I don't know. The Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso was cool.
Ted Lasso was cool. I just wish Justin Bieber played a more
happy.
I know the theme of this halftime show was love. Did I get that at all? No.
I had tears. Just streaming down my face when Justin Bieber started singing because I was like, wow, we just turned down the mood to a -10 here. Thank you. I had to listen to Madonna, and now I have this acoustic, which I love acoustics, but not during a halftime show. But I do say,
I will say it's kind of crazy when you go from like having I Show Speed, then Post Malone going back to hip hop Post Malone dressed as a cowboy, and then you got Sunflower, which I'm sure is everyone's favorite song from Spider-Man, the Spider-Verse. So,
is it?
It's my favorite song from that movie.
I know. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I will say like for all I had to watch Madonna moments. And I wish Justin Bieber had kept up pace. There was Shakira. Thank God for Shakira. God bless Shakira. That's Shakira, like my takeaway for everything is like
Burner Boy.
Yeah,
right?
Burner Boy.
Yeah, so
like thank God for that. And you know what? The PS22 thing, getting the school kids out there, that was cute. That was adorable. Shout out Chris Martin because again, he continues to curate World Cup and sports halftime shows, which I don't know. I guess that's an impressive thing. But
I couldn't hear what they were singing. That's the only thing
it was a very preachy song. It was all
very
about
on
love.
point for Coldplay once again at a halftime show where we couldn't hear them sing.
Yeah.
So,
But no, I will say that, like, honestly, like, the halftime show wasn't terrible, but if we could have cut this to just, like, give me the BTS, Muppets, and Shakira, I would have been okay with that. And you throw in the kids at the end. That's fine, too. But, like...
Or we get Coldplay with the Muppets.
Also would have been cool with that. But let's just throw away the idea to bring Madonna back in her 90th year next World Cup, please.
It would have been funny just to see Ronaldinho and Ronaldo like jamming with Animal.
Yeah, no, dude. Okay, I'll be honest. Ronaldinho and Ronaldo were just like, guys, we're just happy to be here. The smiles on their face was the best part of the entire World Cup because they're like, we're just happy to be here, guys.
That check cashed in.
Yeah. Hey, our check got cashed, our pockets got filled, and we get these matching jumpsuits, which it fits. The Kanga style fits both of them. They both have worn it in like photo shoots before, so it's like
very New Jersey, by the way.
Very 90s, like early 2000s esque. Like I was like,
you know what? Speaking of tracksuits, I know we're moving on from this, but the guy that sang that one song in the pregame that came out in a tracksuit, then you have Nicole Scherzinger in like this like elegant dress, and then the other performer that was also wearing something elegant, and then you just have this guy in like just a really sparkling tracksuit. It was just, I was just like, this guy must have saw The Sopranos before going into this, and he's like, I want to be Polly Walnuts.
Yeah, no, there was definitely some. I wish there was a single fashion person that was doing all of the set. So maybe Chris Martin just hire somebody to handle wardrobe for everybody. All of them. Don't let them talk you out of it. Don't do this again, because that was some.
Madonna was doing. It's like
I was so just like
going on 30, and she. Just
I was like, yeah, it was 13 going on 300, and yeah. I'm not talking about the Spartans. Like, let me be very clear. Madonna has a place in history for what she did for the pop genre. It's past 26 years past 2000. I don't need to keep seeing Madonna being rolled out for every major sporting event.
Fair enough.
It's scary. Like, honestly, at this point in time, she's giving small children nightmares.
So for the people that didn't like the halftime show, I will tell you this: it's gonna happen again. This is what Infantino wants. There's gonna in the 6-country World Cup that they're gonna have in 2030. There's gonna be a halftime show. There's gonna be halftime shows. So hate it or love it, it's gonna be part of the game. I don't want it. I didn't think it was necessary. Like I said, the highlight for me was the Muppets and Shakira, and Ted Lasso. So two of those three things involved music, sort of. So. Also, I think it was hilarious that so my buddy Felix that was watching the game with us, he pointed out, he's like, hey, I have not seen Jelly Roll. Not that he wanted to see Jelly Roll, but he was just like, hey, wasn't he supposed to have the official World Cup song? Yeah, and the internet bullied FIFA to the only thing that FIFA listened to the fans for was that, oh, we really screwed the pooch on this one. But,
yeah. Look, after Lisa's performance in the kickoff, the pregame kickoff of the initial game of the tournament, with half the stands being filled in a very less than electric atmosphere, I imagine there were some individuals who maybe were scheduled that were just like, I'm going to pull out for being sick, guys. Sorry. Because, yeah, that was rough. I mean, that was a rough... Her opening was not... It wasn't necessarily her fault, but definitely wasn't a great support moment for her music.
All right, and then we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. I'm trying to remember what was the question I was going to say for the end.
I know what it is, and I almost don't want to give you it, but okay. The Ballon d'Or winner.
The Ballon d'Or. All right. Just tell me the player that you think has raised their stock for the Ballon d'Or from this World Cup.
Kylian Mbappe.
Even though he had a terrible, he didn't have a terrible season, but Real Madrid had a terrible season.
Had a rough half of the first half of the season, but setting an all-time record of goals in a every World Cup. Like, he now has the goal scoring record for all World Cups, winning the Golden Boot again, being the first back-to-back Golden Boot winner in World Cup history. If he just puts together a good second half of the year, why not?
That is a good point. It is based on the season, though. So I mean,
that's true. Yeah, I guess it does. I guess it does end in August, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it is based off the season. So I would say,
okay, he's still up there because
he's going to be World Cup. He's going to be in the conversation. I think it's going to be so hard to give.
I refuse to accept Messi as an answer. That's just where I'm at.
That's fair. I think it's just so hard to like give it to a Real Madrid player just because of the fact that how Real Madrid season went this past season. I could see Dembele putting in a strong case for himself. He did have a good run with PSG this season, and of course, obviously, very impactful for France in their moments. Even though he was right next to the dictator himself, so that's the only player I could think of, because you could look at those Portuguese players from PSG, but not a great World Cup for them.
No.
I mean, to the point where some people were like, maybe we should bench Vitinha. So, like, I don't think there's another player that stands out enough for me.
I did think of one.
What's that?
Harry Kane.
That is a good shout.
Honestly, I don't know why I didn't think Harry Kane earlier, because now I feel like a jerk, because he had an incredible club season.
Honestly, if I had to predict right now, obviously we don't have the short list, and that's going to be an episode topic.
Yeah.
When the short list comes out. But you make a good point, because Harry Kane had a phenomenal year for Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich was very good. If it wasn't for the fact that they had to play against PSG in the semifinal, they probably would be in the final of that Champions League this past season. But yeah, man, Harry Kane, he was very impactful for England. He was in the conversation for the Golden Boot, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was fourth, I think, technically.
Yeah,
third or fourth. Yeah,
I could see Harry Kane. I can't see it. I can't see Harry Kane. That's going to be insane for the English, because I mean, it's been a while since they've had an Englishman, win the Ballon d'Or. So yeah. Mbappe is a good shout. I just think with the way Real Madrid was this season, and team play does get put into consideration. So it's hard to put a team that didn't win a single trophy.
Yeah. Okay, so I was wrong, by the way. Kane, because he didn't score a goal in the last two matches, he did finish in sixth place in the Golden Boot. So he finished behind Dembele, Haaland, Bellingham, Messi, and Mbappe from the bottom up.
And then I would say Haaland could get a shout, but I mean, he only won the Carabao Cup, so.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things, like, City didn't have as good of a year as they could have. And if they did, I think Haaland does have and he also didn't break, like, Ronaldo, Messi level scoring records either. Yeah. So that's like, that kind of, to me, that puts him a little bit lower on the list. Harry Kane, obviously, now that I thought about it, it's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think if you can split this season into thirds, I think Mbappe pre-injury Madrid has a case. Post-injury Madrid, 50-50. World Cup, yes. Like World Cup, if we just waited on World Cup performance alone, he's easily the favorite. But because you're putting in that middle part of the season, and there's a little bit of that first part of the season for Mbappe, it does make me a little more question. Maybe it is Rodri after all. You mentioned it earlier. Maybe it is Rodri.
And I think that the fair argument is, I mean, we just said it for Haaland. It's not like Man City had a great year. He was also hurt.
Yeah.
Most of the season. So that would be an insane thing if, like, this year could be such a toss-up that a player that didn't even play the whole season
wins
the Ballon d'Or. I mean, people were already pissed off the first time Rodri won it. So,
like, you almost wonder if Jude had a good enough case, but his back end of performance with Madrid was just not good enough. God, it's so tough. Like, honestly, again, he falls in the same category as the City players. Like, if he played at a different club, it's probably a different answer. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. If Messi ends up winning another Ballon d'Or, I'm not going to do anything except for just be like, well, it happened, guys. But I'm not going to be happy when I say it.
mm-hmm.
There should be a slight disappointment in my voice.
No, yeah. No, I get it.
It would be the first time an MLS player ever lifts the Ballon d'Or, though.
Technically, yeah.
I don't like that.
Messi was already in MLS when he got the Ballon d'Or. So
Was he? I thought he hadn't played a game yet.
I mean, he brought the Ballon d'Or to Miami after he won it.
2022, right?
Yeah, it was after the World Cup.
Did he play any matches for Miami before that?
No, he didn't.
Okay, all right. Then it doesn't count. We're talking active MLS players.
I believe he was still at Barcelona when he played for Argentina.
Yeah. In 2022, I think he was PSG that last year.
Yeah, he was. No. So yeah, he left PSG. And then in the summer, that's when he played Leagues Cup. So he was already in Barcelona before the Qatar World Cup.
Yeah. So, okay, 2022, he played the European club season at PSG. And then during the winter, because it was a Winter World Cup, we all remember, right? He captained Argentina, and then he came to the MLS in 2023. So, active MLS-wise, this would be the first time if Messi lifts it. So,
there we go.
I don't know if I like that, though. I don't like, that falls in the categories of this feels weird.
That would be hilarious, though, because MLS will never. Well, we already never heard the end of it with MLS when Messi did win it. So, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, man, that is the World Cup. It is the recap episode. Kelcey, I appreciate you for coming on. Obviously, guys, we are continuing on our break, but get ready for August, as obviously the European calendar will start commencing, and me and Edward and Kelcey from time to time will be discussing everything that's going on over there in Europe. So, Kelcey, appreciate for you always coming on, man. But tell the good people where they can find you.
Yeah, you can find me anytime over at the High Low Sports Podcast. We go live every Wednesday night over on our socials, and then every Thursday you'll find our YouTube channel, or the Belly Up Sports YouTube channel. You'll find our full-length videos. You can find us on social at High Low Sports, except for X because they like to be difficult. It is at high_low_sports to find us there. And yeah, you'll check us out. We're getting ready for football season. College football, fantasy football is coming up this year. So we're going to be doing that. We got the Fantasy Football Expo coming up actually very soon. So we'll be at that as well. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun coming up into the American football season.
Yep, there you go, guys. Kelcey, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan from No Credentials Required to talk to you about one of our newest partners at Belly Up Sports, SeatGeek. Yeah, live sports is great on television, but the feeling of being at the arena is a priceless experience. That's why our friends at SeatGeek are there to help you find the best tickets at the best prices. Not only can you get tickets to sporting events, but you can also get tickets to concerts, comedy shows, musicals, and more. Search for your desired event now at SeatGeek.com, enter promo code BellyUpSports at checkout, and you save $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek. Life's an event. We have the tickets.
All right, guys, that is 2026 FIFA World Cup recap. I want to give a big thank you to Kelcey Coyne of High Low Sports. Obviously, check them out at high_low_sports on Twitter and High Low Sports on everything else in social media. Check them out as well at Belly Up Sports. That's where you can find them, which, by the way, shout out to Belly Up Sports. Check out their website, bellyupsports.com. Check out their YouTube channel, Belly Up Sports. Follow them on social media at Belly Up Sports on all things social media. There's a lot of things going on, man. If you haven't you've been missing out. If you guys go watch Summer of Soccer, man, even though everything has now transpired, still great content nonetheless, man. So go give them some love over there as well. But yeah, obviously, make sure you guys like, subscribe on this video. If you guys listen to the audio version, thank you so much. Check us out on social media once again at InstantNameFC on all things social media. And yeah, man, this was an amazing World Cup. Despite the flaws, it wasn't perfect, but still, we had a great World Cup. Congratulations once again to Spain for lifting their second ever World Cup. To Messi and Argentina, you know, the effort was clearly there, but obviously they fell short. And we'll see what happens with Messi. He still has a season to play for in MLS, and we'll see how he goes in these next 2 seasons with Inter Miami. But for everybody, basically, man, enjoy the last bit of it. We're more and more closer to the end of Messi's time playing the sport, as well as Cristiano Ronaldo and many other legends of the sport. So enjoy it. But yeah, also beats are always done by another land, Roosevelt Spencer. Give him some love at That Guy Dope on Instagram. Once again, at That Guy Dope. If you guys need some beat work done, hit him up. He will take great care of you like he always does with us. So we love Spencer so much that he is the namesake of the Player of the Year award that we do at the end of the year episode. So can't be done without him. So we appreciate Spencer for all that he does for this show. And yeah, with all that being said, man, we are still on break, but we will be back August. We will be back. Probably expect August 13th. Maybe even, August 13th will be the return of Insert Name FC. We are going to start previewing the Power 5 leagues in Europe, start talking about storylines to follow in those competitions, and then, of course, another season in the world of footy. So thank you so much for listening to this episode. Catch us for when we kick off the 2026-27 European calendar. Take care, guys.